Hello, everybody! Guess what? We're back in the building again, baby! Woo! With more chaos. Talkback. Welcome, one and all. Air horns. To our very special community stream Q&A. No matter if you're tuning in for the first or 100th time, we are Transplanar RPG, an all transgender, people of color led dark fantasy actual play channel telling stories set in an original non-colonial anti-orientalist multiverse. This means that we stand against genocide and ethnic cleansing and support all oppressed peoples of the world struggling against injustice, imperialism, and colonization. We must use our voices to build solidarity and fight for the worlds we wish to see. So to that end, free Sudan, free DRC, free Palestine, abolish ICE, free all oppressed peoples of this world. Thank you all so much for showing up to support our story. If you're watching this right now, you are here for our community stream Q&A, where you ask us all your burning questions about Arc 3. But before we hurtle right into the session, allow me to reintroduce my fantabulous cast from this previous season, starting with our incredible guest for this arc, Hamna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hamna. I use any and all pronouns, and for this arc, I played Rhododendron Takrar, who uses they/they pronouns. Our now head of House Takrar. Woo, woo, woo. And with that, I will pass things over to Val.
Hello everyone, my name is Valiant Doran. I use his pronouns. You can find me all across the internet at Valiant Doran or at also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure I just set you on. And I have been Sayir, your favorite Doom boy who uses he, they pronouns. I'm going to pass it on over to the hot cowboy of the hour.
Well, thanks. Hi everyone, I'm Kai. I use he, they, and she pronouns, and I play Mr. Zanin Esh, who uses he, him pronouns, and sure does make choices. Speaking of excellent choices. Sam?
Hi, I'm the best choice there is. I'm Samstar. I use she, they, and the occasional they pronouns, and I play everyone's favorite choice, Lumira, the littlest cowgirl. And I'm going to pass it right along to the dramaturg. Put some respect on their name.
Sam, you can't be so nice to me during introductions. It makes me blush that I don't know who I am anymore. But I remember now. Hi, everyone. My name is... Oh my gosh. Hearing Discord pings. I'll have to silence Discord in a minute. My apologies. Hi, everyone. My name is C, the producer of Discord ping. Last name. I use they, them pronouns, and you can find me making very trans, very gay art on the internet at C Plays RPG. If you liked what I'm doing here, you like what I do other places. Sorry, I really did get confused about who I am at that time. I'm the middleist cow they. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass it back to Connie before I can talk anymore because it's not going well so far.
It's okay, C. It's okay. Go fix those Discord
My
pings while I'm talking.
Discord!
I know
Make
your Discord
it
is betraying
silent!
you. Sabotaging you. But yes, right now, this is our Q&A. So if you have any questions about Arc 3, please type them into chat. And it really helps if you preview your question with Q. : at the very beginning, so our mods can see them very easily and ferry them along to us. We are going to try our best to get to everyone if we can, so please be respectful and patient because we like to yap and have fun in the chat. Our patrons have had access to an early questions portal, so we're going to start with those questions first with priority because that's what they get as our incredible patrons. Speaking of which,
Sorry, I was not prepared for that. That segue. So, anyway, thank you to our Patreon precepts for supporting the show and allowing us to do what we do. Thank you specifically to Ozra, Brooke, the Bow System, Cassidy, Clay, Elvira, Gridrunner 404, Mainman 13, Mark J, Nikolai, Phil, Robert Burke, Rose, Sergeant Danes, Spectra, Spencer, Squareheart, Taylor, and Zoe. You since we're pointing tonight, can also join their illustrious ranks by using !Patreon in the chat and consider pledging at the free or $3 tier to start, or you could be real nice and gift a subscription to a loved one. You'll unlock behind the scenes content and even monthly discounts on our merch store, which, Val, you want to talk about that?
I would love to talk about that because monthly discounts, can I just tell you something? It's going to be the end of the month. Tomorrow is June, which means a new monthly discount for fans of Transplaner to find gorgeous apparel, home goods, and accessories designed by everyone in the chat, as we usually do. Our
husband! Our husband!
Thank you. And you can do that by using !merch in chat or go to transplanerrpg.shop. We've got some killer new designs cooking up for our upcoming God Killer collection launching this June. That is soon. In the meantime, our shop is sourced ethically, size inclusive, and made to order with free global shipping. So please give yourself the gift of Transplaner and go check out our merch store. Passing it over to Kai.
Are you ready to celebrate 5 years of Transplaner RPG?
Yes, I am!
Because we certainly are, if that's not clear. Join us every Wednesday and Saturday in June to kick off half a decade of Transplaner RPG with reruns, special streams, one-shots, and more. We have a full schedule listed on our social media and in our Discord channel, so check it out and stay tuned for more information at the end of the stream. Sam?
This stream will contain spoilers for arcs 1 through 3 of the Chaos Protocol. It may also contain minor spoilers for our other shows. If you need to catch up quick, you can use !recap in chat to read our full written recap document and to see for some self-care tips.
Yes, indeed. Transplaner RPG, just generally speaking, deals with content that may be triggering to some viewers. This community stream may include discussions of oppression, discrimination, and bigotry, as well as fantasy violence, grief, vampirism, the apocalypse, conceptually and literally, ghosts, romance, sexual humor, complex relationships, and parental conflict. Due to the live nature of this stream, and we don't know what questions that you're all going to ask, more content warnings may be added as the conversation continues. Make sure that you take care of yourself, and you can always dip if you need to and return later on. And for those spoiler notes, we will try to give flags for any spoilers for stuff that's not Chaos Protocol related if it comes up. So you can stay if you've seen Chaos but you haven't seen other stuff. So don't worry about that. With that out of the way, like Connie mentioned, this is where I remember that I'm technically emceeing this event. 5% battery. Here we go. I'm doing so good. Ooh. To get us started, like Connie mentioned, we have some Patreon questions that we can ask for kind of the room and the crowd. We'll start there, but if you have questions, please do ask them in chat, and the mods are going to grab them and put them in this document that we're all reading off of together. So, without further ado, Elala0325 asks, are there any plans to have more content involving Inferno in the future? I remember that God Killer Last Hope was set in the same world as Arc 2, and I'm curious if there are any plans to do something similar.
Perhaps.
That's the most ominous answer you could have given.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that
I
I'm rolling
don't
a
think I like
D20.
one-word answers from
No,
Connie.
No, what do you mean?
Ask again later, says the oracle.
Smack that
Oh,
D20 out of your hand,
God.
affectionate.
Perhaps.
Honestly, this is a Q&A. What if I make people roll?
I'm always happy to revisit arcs, especially ones that hold a very special place in all of our hearts. And Arc 2 was very special and specific to me and my heritage. And Arc 3 is just, I think, in a lot of ways, some of our tightest work on the Chaos Protocol so far, and even on Transplaner so far. And I would be more than happy to revisit Inferno in some way, shape, or form down the line. 100%.
Yeah. I think,
Better
from
answer.
the background showrunner perspective too, of saying that I hope that we get to revisit all of the worlds that we've seen. I hope that we get to go back and see the ones that we've seen in this show and in other shows, maybe even. I don't know. Because we do so much background work. Like, there's so much world in every world that we make, even if we see a fraction of it. So it always feels nice to sit on things we've already made. But I'm going to try to keep us going quick through these answers because we have a lot, and I want to get through at least part of them. Milo from the Patreon asks, and this is a good one to get us into things, what was the most difficult part of performing in Arc 3 for you? The most challenging or the most heavy, even, perhaps, is a way to answer that question. I'm going to throw it to Humna first. I don't know. You seem...
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I think for me, honestly, I have such a vastly different experience playing so many different characters, like on different shows, and the level of like difficulty or like resistance I feel playing characters like varies. And Ro was interesting for me because I did not feel resistance playing Ro. Like I said this in many of our decompression sessions, but for me, like coming to the table, I felt like I could just slip into Ro's skin and like just kind of go. And I think that was partially because of so much of the prep that we did, that I did with C as the dramaturge and also with Connie as the GM. And that in combination with, I think just there was something just about Inferno as a place and Ro as a character that just clicked for me, that it felt like putting on like a comfy sweater. I think the hardest part was not necessarily playing Ro, but playing the role that I was in, which was this like pseudo player, pseudo guest, pseudo GM like kind of space that I was in, where I was partially narrating, and I was given the privilege by C and Connie to help like create the world of Inferno and to help like flesh out the NPCs and everything like that. So having this sort of like weird in between space of like I'm kind of a player but I'm also kind of not was unique and new to me. Like I've never been in that role before, and I think that was the biggest challenge, was trying to figure out like, okay, like where do I fit into all of this, like just from like a above table perspective, like what is my actual goal in like being here, and where do I take space, where do I give space, and how does it all kind of enmesh into chaos as a broader story? Because I was also very mindful of that too, right? Like it's not just arc 3, it's arc 3 within the chaos protocol as a whole. So I think that was a lot of things to juggle for me, but I really enjoyed it, so that was a fun challenge.
Yeah, you did pretty spectacularly.
I was just about to say you did a really great job, Hamna, because
Well,
if you think about it, it's not easy to be a guest and have to slip in and ingratiate yourself in an already established group of people. Like, like it's always difficult for a guest member to step into an ensemble and have to make theirself seen, known, and relevant to the entire ensemble altogether. And you did that like 10 out of 10.
I mean, that comes a lot from all of y'all too, right? Like you all made it so easy for that to happen, like, and for me to come into that. Like I didn't ever feel like I was just like coming in and just kind of like doing a little thing and then leaving, which is I feel like sometimes how guests for APs get treated. I truly, from all of you, felt like I was being like integrated into the table, like really and truly, and that like Ro's story mattered just as much as the PCs mattered. And like I think from that attitude is where that sort of integration was possible. So I really do honestly feel very lucky that I got to play with all of you. Also, I think it helps that I've played with all of you before in different tables and capacities. So I mean, I love you all and you're all amazing performers. And so I was just genuinely excited to like play with you all again anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, gay ass. Anyone else have an answer for this question?
Yes. I knew coming into this arc that this was the arc that I was going to start telling people who Zynon really is. And I love playing things close to the chest and having things to give, but actually giving them and giving them in a way that they're understood. Like Zynon being a freak. um, was it was hard because it was like, how do I parse this out? But also like choosing what parts to give away and where to hold on to them, and like how he's changed and all that stuff too. So it was a lot of like negotiating, not even with the table, but with myself, like how much, and like talking a lot to Z about like how much do we give away here and how much, you know, when is it time for what part?
The breadcrumb trail.
Yeah,
I loved getting to know Zynon this arc personally. It truly
I
like
love, yeah.
it broke my heart that Zynon had to leave, because I just feel like we just learned so much about him, and like he meshed so well with the world that I was like, can he just stay?
I know.
Oh,
It
the
was
meta
nice.
narratives.
It was really nice seeing Pop kind of have that permission to be a freak and unapologetic bottom of Nova, I think. I got Sam.
I mean, yeah.
The most challenging part for playing Sayir, I think, was less to do with any like necessarily execution in terms of performance, because he's an incredible dramaturg and I feel prepared every episode. But it was more of the kind of like the little Jenga tower that I'm building for what's happening after, and making sure that everything made sense in the aftermath. I think that was the more challenging part, because Inferno is fun. I got to have fun with Sayer and playing with a lot of interiority, kind of playing Sayer as, for the most part, a juxtaposition to the violence, and getting to be inside a more gentler space with him was very, very fruitful. I actually very, very much enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it was really nice to see Sayir, who I think is in some regards the most outwardly monstrous character in the most outwardly monstrous world, interfacing with a lot of softness and gentleness and truth and like all of that like deep softness inside of him. I thought that was a really interesting like cohesion with the arc in and of itself. Sam?
And that didn't like...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
No, keep going.
No. That is fine, Sam. Please go.
Finish
My
your
beloved.
thought. Finish your
No,
thought.
it's fine. I forgot it already. Please.
I was gonna say, personally, I love Sayir getting some this arc. Good for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for them. Honestly,
Honestly.
All of Nova's been all over the place all so far. It's time for
It's true.
Sayir to get their due diligence. Good for them. Good for them.
Good for Yinghe to be like now.
Great for Yinghe.
Yeah.
Good for Yinghe.
Great
Good
for
for
Yinghe. Bag to baddie. Love that for her.
Yep.
Let's see. There was a couple of things that I found difficult, I'll say, this arc. Not in like a bad way, but it's more of like difficult in a sense that I felt like me as an actor, as a performer, as a storyteller was getting stretched in newer ways that I feel like I haven't really gotten the opportunity to get stretched like that before.
We were with you, Sam. I'm sorry. We were with you.
with it. I'm sticking with it. Nope, I'm sticking with it. Put your yellow card down. I'm just kidding. I would never actually do that.
Hold on.
Green card. Thank you, Amna. Thank you. Yeah, no, I feel like I got to explore a lot of range in relation with Lumira this arc. This arc was very big for like her as a character. Like we started out seeing Lumira having her chronology taken from her. And like seeing her have to go through the trials and tribulations of like knowing and understanding that this is a part of her, but having to get used to the fact that this is not ultimately in, you know, like in fate's grander plan of things, like this isn't what's supposed to be happening and having to reckon with having that be like no longer having access to that and feeling like that hollowness, but also getting to a point where she realizes and recognizes for herself that this is something that is intrinsically a part of her and no one should or can take that from her, and that there's nothing wrong with that. And that reclamation of power on the back end of that, I thought was really, really powerful, and something that I haven't necessarily gotten a chance to do as of yet. So I felt that it was difficult, but in a great way, and I think everything came out all the better for it.
Mm-hmm.
I love a
You
challenge.
fucking killed it. I will.
Oh, thank you. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
this was a
Really did.
huge
Seconded.
Lumira arc, like supremely huge, and you rose to every occasion that you built for yourself too, and like all of these moments leading up that have been coming through the last 3 arcs, and it's no small feat too. So you deserve your flowers.
Thank you. I only was able to do it as great as I was because I have such a phenomenal dramaturg.
The cherry blossoms.
It's a gift
Wow.
to
I am
me
gonna
to
fight
even
you.
be involved, truly. This is the part of the stream where we're just really gay at each other as much as
Mhm.
possible.
This is the part, not the whole thing.
No, I was gonna be like, you mean every stream where we sit together like this?
Actual play is just a excuse for us to be really gay at each other as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's table
Yeah.
chemistry.
This is true.
That's
Who
That's
doesn't
it.
flirt with their
To me?
friends?
That's
Actually,
table
yes.
chemistry.
Actually, yes.
yeah.
Connie.
Yeah, Connie.
It's a me. I'll keep this fast. The hardest part of Arc 3 for me, one word, scale. I have so much of Inferno that I wanted to share and explore and get into, and I really had to pick and choose the specific aspects of this city and the specific aspects of this world that we got to actually play through. And same for Arc 3, and same just generally speaking, especially for a long-term campaign like Chaos, where there are so many moving parts, right? It's not just the overall world-building components I have to kind of like juggle. It's also this overall big narrative that we're ushering over the course of multiple arcs. And there's the specific narratives for each arc, and there's player-specific narratives, and there's NPC-specific narratives. It's a lot of stuff. So it's really about picking and choosing the most important parts of the season to focus on and really like drilling deep down into that. And I think Arc 1 and Arc 2 have both been such incredible kind of like testing fields for me too. Like I learn in every arc ways to strengthen and tighten and keep things going, but also like give the breadth and the depth of space for players to really sink their teeth into the themes of the particular season in question. So it's honestly just like keeping all of the plates spinning, like Xiao Cheng, keeping all the plates spinning all the time and making sure that we're focusing on the right moments in the right way.
And I think you did a really great job of that too. There's a lot of stuff in Arc 3. And stuff that
Yeah.
has really like rest of the campaign rending effects on how we move forward. You and I had to take like 2 or 3 weeks kind of in the middle of the arc to be like, okay, hold on. We need to like map out the end. We need to like map out the rest of the trajectory of the main story
Yes.
before we go any further from right here.
Yes, because it's kind of like we had like a small story problem / question that we were working through together, and we were like, okay, wait, but to answer this, we have to know this, and to know this, we have to know this about the world. So we had to like figure out really big stuff to be able to figure out intermediate stuff to be able to get a specific answer, right? So even though we didn't actually get to this big thing, right? Like we needed to work everything out before we could even get this tiny thing. And that's a lot of GMing for me, especially for a world as like specifically and complexly built as the Chaos Protocol.
100%. Well, speaking of inspiration creation, this is a question from Spectra, who asks, what inspired the creation of your characters? And I know that we could literally spend the entire rest of the stream talking about this, so I need you all to hit me with very Laurie's House style. Like a single word, a color, flora, fauna, song.
Single.
I know it's difficult. Oh, just one aspect. Specifically heading into what you wanted to reveal about your characters in Arc 3.
Okay.
Specifically for Arc 3, like what
Ooh.
inspired like
What if I say
like
like what if I say forward?
Forward it is. Inspired Lumira, inspired by Forward.
Oh no, I'm
This
saying
is-
like
this
what
is
if
an ad.
what I say is a reference for
Hit it.
Oh.
I was ready to accept Forward as the answer to that question.
Yeah, same.
I mean, it's
Honestly-
a time mage. It makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Olivia Pope.
Mm.
Olivia Pope.
This is a deep cut to a previous Transplaner stream. Abel.
Oh God. I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah.
Valiant Dorian.
Yeah,
that's
that
rough.
makes sense.
Val.
That makes
yeah.
so much
Yeah.
sense, and I hate it, and I love it.
At the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
time, right?
There's
Yeah.
an old stream, an old Transplaner stream with a character named Abel in it. You should go and watch.
That's true. Sun Seekers, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's on our YouTube channel.
That's vicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100% horrendous.
For Zynon, it's ruin.
Hi.
You're sick, bro.
It's 8:37 a.m. in the morning.
Happy Pride, Val. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Ruin.
Hams.
I mean, I feel like mine are pretty obvious, right? Because on the one hand, we have Romeo and Juliet.
True.
We have spiders, and we have mommy issues. That's the foundation of Ro. Like, I don't know how else.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Those mommy issues are. Oof.
The story has 3
TLDR for
voices.
that
The
ass.
voices have infinite sound, etc., etc.
For myself, I will say for Arc 3 and Chaos generally, Rebirth.
Mm.
Ooh.
Mm.
Major key, Connie. I like that.
That was nice. I'm gonna say I'm torn between the word entropy and like the word like close lens, like macro style photography, because there's something so nice to me about Inferno, the inspiration to get really close, to get really personal. That, like, you know, as we talked about, we saw in the arc that Doom is not world ending. It is interpersonal emotional conflicts as small as one between yourself or just 2 people or a few people, you know, and getting really close into everything. Delicious. Yeah, I'm gonna let that one resonate. Our next question comes from Harry, who asks, what led you to decide that Arc 3 would have a special guest, and what was that process like? And I actually can maybe take point on this question, and because you were talking about this a little bit, Humna, too, is existing in this fun and interesting space. I will say that all of our arcs have had special guests so far. And specifically, Arc 1 and Arc 3 have included our special guests from previous Transplaner content, our broader kind of cast, and we hope to continue to be able to do such a thing, inviting old cast members on to play new characters in the world of chaos. Just going to put that one out there as just kind of something that we are doing. But specifically, I don't know if y'all have seen Humna play Cerise in Bad House RPG, but I watched that and I said, okay, so Humna has to be a vampire in the Chaos Protocol, and I did not let go of that. I did not let go of that. Cerise and Ro are very, very, very different, hugely different, but I still stand by what I said. Humna needs to play a vampire in the Chaos Protocol, and I was right. So I think the process too also involved a lot of
correct.
Our desire to like continue to experiment with form, right? And to think about what a guest is and what a guest can be. And I'm kind of also doing a lot of thinking about that myself, thinking about Artemis as a character who is an NPC and not always present in the narrative, but is deeply part of the narrative. And my like position also as dramaturg and co-GM and co-showrunner and all of this stuff. So it was a desire to continue to experiment on like what this form as actual play can be. And Humna does a lot of really great work with that as well. So it's just kind of like the right choice for the table at the right time. And that came from me being a huge fan of Humna. We were actually talking about this in the green room too. So it's because I'm gay and I love my friends. .com. If you had anything to add. Otherwise, we can move right along.
I don't know if Connie has anything to add since this is more
No,
about
that was
y'all.
a very succinct and good answer. Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. We're trucking along, I promise. Allie asks, ooh, I'm curious about the role of werewolves in the broader context of Inferno and the thought behind the extent of their inclusion in the story, if possible. I am ready.
So this is. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I was ready to just jump in and answer the question. Without
I have
any
a
more
silly
preamble.
answer, but I'll pass it to you after I give my silly answer. My silly answer is that because I think it's not possible to do vampires without also doing werewolves. To me,
Twilight
just,
really got you.
it did. It's like
No,
in my brain.
Underworld got me.
Underworld.
Let's put that.
Thank you.
let's
I don't know what that
Record there.
is.
Yeah, Underworld.
Kate Beckinsale. Yeah. Anyway.
You're not missing anything, Hamna. I promise.
I mean, I watched it when I was like 12, and it rewired my brain chemistry, right? And I haven't seen it
Same.
since.
It made you gay.
It did make me gay. So this is one of the problems of scale. Is if we got to stay in Inferno for like multiple seasons and like more than just 16 sessions, which actually isn't even that much time, like if we really, really think about it, like if we really want to go deep, then I absolutely would like include an entire werewolf arc. I'd like put in a bunch of like scheming werewolf factions and like really deeply and complexly interrogate the role of werewolves, you know, the curse of lycanthropy versus the curse of vampirism and whatnot. But, you know, given our limited time, I knew that we had to have at least one, maybe two werewolves in Arc 3, and that's how Harlow and that's how Maverick kind of like came about. Mav and Bo actually were characters of mine and C's from a home game that I facilitate for C, one-on-one home game, and that was kind of like a tiny little, you know, Easter egg just for us. And these were characters that we were already familiar with, having played them before in this context, so they were pretty easy to like just kind of pour in. Another important thing, you know, about just like the overall world building with werewolves and vampires, it's important to me that both of these conditions are conditions. They're curses, right? That leaning away from kind of like biomedical way of thinking of vampirism or werewolves, because that's not really interesting to me, and I think can open up a whole can of worms about problematic bioessentialist ideas and weird allegories about real life diseases and conditions, and leaning more toward it as like a curse, as like a blood curse, right? Lycans, you know, lycanthropy is a blood curse with like these like mythical origins, right? And this is very subtle, but in the world of Inferno, you become a werewolf when another werewolf eats your heart, and it doesn't always take, so you could die from the process as well. But that's, you know, so werewolves are undead as well, insofar as they literally don't have mortal hearts. And it's about
Val is
hunger and
chewing his
feeding.
microphone.
So
Look at
sexy.
Yeah. and
This is what I
transforming
mean
into
by
a-
it.
It's so
I say,
normal in
like-
the translated stream about this.
No,
This is
we
what
can
I
all
mean.
see you. We're all
It's
right
like an
here. We know who you
I
are.
iceberg.
watched it in live time, Val. There's no hiding.
Yeah, and that was similar for like blood curses and vampires as well. As for socio-political organizing, you know, we wanted vampires to be forefronted with the Crimson Tapestry and have like the main kind of like political agents featured in Arc 3 at least to be vampires, which is why inclusion of werewolves in Inferno at least is kind of like they're not as structured or organized in the same way that vampiric houses are yet, but that might change in the future if and when we ever do revisit Inferno.
Yeah, this is what I mean when I say Inferno is an iceberg of lore in all the worlds. Like, we had stuff about all of the 3 reaches in the Wild Sea and the
Mhm.
city of heaven. There's a ton of lore that lives pretty much just in Connie and I's head, which I think brings us into our next question from Wander, which reads, Inferno is a plane that closely mimics our own, especially when depicting a near-capitalist lifestyle. How did you work around the oppressive parts of a capitalist system in order to tell a non-colonial, anti-Orientalist narrative? Was it hard to strike that balance between urban reality and Transplanter's mission? And Connie, I know you love urban fantasy, so I'll throw this to you in a minute, but I'll add some more like little like kind of subtle lore that I think we've like seeded in, because I actually remember a session 0 between myself, Humna, and Connie kind of very early in Arc 3 where we were talking about this exact problem, because I think in a lot of vampire media, we also see like the vampires rule from the shadows and they're like the upper echelons and they're like, you know, they have $1 bazillion million and they're like the rich and the elites, right? Which we kind of really wanted to work against for I think this exact reason. So you can see very subtly, I think, in the way that we present it, because I think another element of like going into this is that we are not necessarily interfacing with capitalism as a force that exists in this world. So it's not like, there's no struggle between Thrakar and Lanius because Thrakar has more money, right? Or like, that's not the core of the issue. So we get to kind of like sidestep that, just like in the way of what we focus on in developing conflicts. But also in like the world building itself, we developed the way that the houses were set up, which is that the leaders of the houses are not necessarily members of like any kind of elite socio-economic society. So for example, Willow is a street artist, right? And it's Ro who works as not the head, as like a curator in the museum, is not necessarily the director of said museum. Aditi Lanius is a union contractor and a construction worker. She works construction with all the other construction workers every day and every night. And the members of House Kuatun also, they own a diner. But within like the politics of Inferno, like they are very powerful people, even if they don't necessarily sit in an elitist role. For example, Professor Afueko is also just a professor, right? She's not the dean of the college necessarily. So there are like very subtle ways that we tried to seed like that kind of vibe into the world building itself. But I'll throw the question to you, Connie, too.
Yes, I will also add on to that and say that classism specifically is actually not on our table lines or veils. And we have talked at length before as a cast about how we could and would be interested in exploring questions of like economic instability or like economic disenfranchisement. This idea of like, you know, wealth accrual even in some ways. And I think that was definitely less prominent for Inferno. It wasn't, you know, the main conflict wasn't about money, like capital and the accumulation and hoarding of capital, which is kind of what capitalism specifically like does, was not present in the city. I wanted it to very much feel like Shanghai, you know, and New York City and Boston in some ways, like drawing on all of these, you know, places that I love a lot and have, you know, home ties to, kind of like an homage and a love letter to these urban spaces, which features a lot of public transportation, which often features like, you know, beautiful architecture, skyscrapers, and you know, overpasses and train yards, right? Like there's something about, yeah, like the grime of a city, like the smoke and stuff, like the rubber, that's kind of inevitable when you like live in a dense city, urban city in a lot of ways. But it also like doesn't necessarily have to be built on a one-to-one representation of how capitalist urban centers currently look like in our world. And yes, money does exist in Inferno, but it was important to me not to like fixate on that as a major plot point, right? It was important that it was just about like the grudge, right? And the cycles of strife between various houses. It was an interesting challenge to strike that balance between like our real world and Transplanter's mission. There were like moments where I love urban fantasy, but it does also have a lot of like built-in tropes that do create friction with our non-colonial approach to world building. For instance, in a lot of urban fantasy, cops still exist. The concept of slums often still exist, you know, and you have to think about like how is a slum created, right? Redlining, a lot of these things, gentrification, all of these real world problems that do occur in cities because of racism, sexism, transphobia, homophobia, all of these things, you know, and to square that with what we needed to do for Inferno. So like there was like a moment, I think, like in Arc 3 where I found myself almost like thinking like, there are cops in this world, you know, because like there are no cops in Inferno, because that was specifically something we didn't want to explore. So I had to like pause and think about like a different way that, you know, conflict could be mediated, like, and it is an improvised medium, right? So like that's also why we have, you know, we utilize safety tools. So if I misspeak or if I say something about the world that actually after some reflection and thought doesn't actually feel like it should exist in the world, we have the latitude to kind of edit that out later or like address that on stream if and when it does come up.
If I could add one thing as well, I think there is a tendency for us to see like money and then automatically think capitalism, just because of, you know, we've grown up in that. But I think that from a purely like conceptual point of view, commerce and capitalism are separate like concepts. It is possible to have a society that engages in commerce but is not a capitalistic society. And so the way that I kind of think about Inferno, from the way that we kind of had talked about it and built it in all of our different session zeros and in dramaturgy, is that it is a place that has commerce but not necessarily capitalism. Like we didn't really like build that into Inferno. That's kind of how I think about the world.
No, you're 100% correct.
100%.
There is commerce and there is currency, right? There's the concept of money, but there's not capitalism, like 21st century Western urban capitalism in the way that we understand it.
Yeah. Excellent question. This question really made me laugh in the Google form, by the by, from Aaliyah, who asks, if your characters were an instrument, what would they be? Do they play said instrument or something else or nothing? What instrument is your character?
Hamna? Why are you giggling?
Because I think it's very funny.
I love this question. And also,
This is a great question, and I would have never thought of anything
It's a really
like
good
this.
question.
So now I
It's a
have
really
to really
good
think
question.
about it.
it's like also kind of like,
And
what
there
is your
has
like
to be a
musical
type of-
theme? Go on.
Mm-hmm.
I just had an idea for Seir, which is like a tabla or like some sort or dhol or like some sort of drum.
Oh,
I feel like that just
Hamna,
feels
stop
fun.
looking at my
oh, that's
I think Sayer does resonate very much with a tabla or a dol. Like he definitely has that energy. This is a headcanon that I had with Sayer in terms of like his fighting style, in that he fights in a rhythm, which is why in combat he does a like his strategy is kind of like, if you pay attention, Sayer's strategies are like maybe 5 different strategies, and if you figure them out, you figure him out, essentially, because they're all very rhythmic and they're very, very ordered. And that makes sense with a dol or with a tabla. There's like a specific rhythm and a specific beats that he goes for in combat and the way that he thinks. In terms of an instrument he would play, I love the idea, like drums and percussions aside, I do find it in terms of like Tamil instruments, I think Sayer is the kind of brooding, introspective, kind of like insular little guy and a brooding little artist as a young man. They would 100% maybe play a veena, which is this sort of like large Indian stringed instrument. Because it requires a lot of like sitting down, a lot of patience. It has all these sort of like intricacies that are very interior, which is very much like within Sayer's sort of like general artistic style. So that's another thing that's cropped up to me because of this question. I've never had to think about Sayer and music instruments till today.
It's interesting to think about also in terms of what musical motifs I've kind of naturally, like as a person doing a lot of the scoring and the music, have like brought into certain characters. I'd have to like revisit those, but it's very interesting. Anyone
Electric
else?
guitar is also another big one. Yeah.
You could shred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sayer could shred.
Yeah.
Speaking of guitars, man, there's only one option for Zion and Ash.
Yeah.
That man is a 6-string guitar. He's a 6-string acoustic guitar.
Damn right he is.
Yeah, and guitars can do a lot of things. There's a lot of music in the world that has been created across a bunch of instruments that you can all play to some effect on a guitar. And I think that's very Zion and Core in general. He does not play any instruments.
That man's a banjo.
Oh my
Only
god.
requirement.
Man,
like
a banjo.
Oh, yeah.
Not like
Man
this.
is a
Oh, yeah.
banjo. This man is
It's
a
a banjo.
But like a blues banjo kind of. Like it's
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
Not banjo
That too.
derogatory, definitely. Banjo's
Yeah.
good friend.
Banjo affectionate.
banjo.
Oh,
Yeah,
banjo
yeah, yeah.
affectionate.
Yeah, I was also thinking like a biwa, somewhere in the East Asian strung instruments
God.
that all kind of fit in that same like vibe of guitar, and specifically like classical style guitar.
Sam?
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh,
No,
I'm not-
because I have no idea.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you time to think because I do have an answer for Ro. I think Ro would be a piano, like a grand
Yeah.
piano.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it
All the
requires
strings.
very specific, ways of playing. It is I like perceived as a very like refined, controlled like instrument to play. And I think that the Rose mask is like classical piano, right?
Mhm.
But then I think a Rose interior like true is like a more freeform way of playing piano, closer to like jazz or like something kind of like along those lines that isn't so rigid and that allows for more like more like improvisation, more like freestyle, less constriction to the way that you play. I think that's how I see Ro in that. And in terms of playing an instrument, I actually one of my like pieces of internal dramaturgy for Ro is that Ray does not do art at all. Like Ray is bad at art. Like just objectively, like cannot paint, cannot sculpt, cannot sing, cannot play an instrument, cannot dance very well. Like all of the art forms, like they're not very good at it, but they are really good at being a critic. They know good art when they see it. And that's sort of like the internal dramaturgy I work with. So Ro would not be able to play the piano.
It's okay. Yada will
But
do it
that's,
for
like,
you.
The way pianos work, it's basically like playing a spider web, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so right.
Because there's the
You're
strings
correct.
in the back.
Yeah.
The hammers hit the strings.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
hammers are
Yeah.
playing the spider.
Mhm.
It's so cool. You're
Brilliant.
If Sam is still thinking,
I don't know. It's such a. I don't know.
I want to know what Ying He is. We'll cut you some.
Yeah,
time
that's
there.
what I was gonna
Ying
ask.
He.
I was like,
Yeah.
what is Ying He's?
I'm a little torn, y'all, because there are some really good options. It would definitely be a classical Chinese instrument. I'm thinking either a guzheng, probably a guzheng over a guqin, which they are similar looking. They're kind of long stringed instruments that you pluck, but a guzheng takes up more space and is louder and has more presence, and guqin is more suited towards smaller, quieter environments. So I think guzheng would probably be better. I was also either thinking like a dizi, which is essentially like a bamboo flute. And it's like it's a Chinese woodwind. It's not made of wood, it's bamboo. So it's a bamboo wind. And it has like a really beautiful and strong sound to it. It's very distinct. If you hear it, you can like immediately recognize it.
I can hear it in my head.
There is
Or-
an old cover of a song that was done with a dizi and Avina, and I need to find it.
You need to
Post
find
haste.
that
I
because
need to find it. post
Wow.
haste.
Flume?
That's kind of perfect.
That's literally okay. So
The
maybe it's,
dramaturgically
Jung and
accurate duet weapon. Not weapon. That okay.
Weapon.
The sea is coming out. The sea is
Yeah.
jumping out of the sea.
I think I've been thinking about it this whole time, similarly stuck. Oh, I have an idea for Lumira.
Do tell, my friend.
Which is the same as my idea for Artemis, which is vocals, song, singing.
See? Wait, see, hold on. Follow me, because we're sharing a brain cell.
Uh-huh.
So I was thinking, I was kind of stuck in between, because I feel like Lumira has a lot of outer versus inner dialogue. So I feel like outwardly Lumira gives like a violin or something like very like refined and flowy and nice, but I think on the inside she gives a tambourine, but like a very specific type of tambourine. Like if you've ever been to like a black church in the middle of praise break, and that very rhythmic, like almost like a heartbeat jingling of a tambourine is very much, I think, Lumira inwardly.
I love that.
I don't think she plays an instrument, but I was going to say I do think she sings.
Oh my god. I need to know your voice comp. Like, if you have a singer, this is also such a big question, also off the cuff. Feel free to marinate on this throughout the Q&A.
Oh, no, I
need a vocal
Lumira
comp.
is a... Just based off of Lumira and her devotion to fate, Lumira is very much like a gospel trained singer. Like, she's a singer that was raised in the church, voice only anointed through praise and worship type of singer. So it's very much like a powerful, soulful, like Amber Riley from Glee, like something like blows down.
Okay, yeah. Our girl can
type
belt.
Girl. Yeah, belter for sure.
Belt. Yeah.
Sing as a soprano.
Yeah.
The soprano.
Sing as a
The
soprano.
soprano.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. For sure.
Yeah. Oh man. Artemis.
Singer? Yeah.
I had to pull up my secret thing that no one's allowed to
secret
see.
dramaturgy for Artemis. The secret document.
Maybe
The Dark Side of the Moon document.
Oh man. Maybe
That was
Aurora.
criminally clever.
Maybe Ethel Kane.
Oh, Aurora.
Aurora, I can hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some like Imogen Heap too, like kind of weird. You know?
Kind of weird. No, Artemis I think has
Weird.
kind of a
I
weird
love
singing
that.
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something around there. Don't quote me on it though. That's
Love that, personally.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
rocks.
That was I needed to take all the time we took to do that because that was really
important.
good. It was dramaturgical
Someone-
work, actually.
Lena has posted in the chat. This is just so important to say that the Oracle is an automaton.
Yes, the Oracle is it like literally the base?
Yeah.
It's the base of the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it, Lena. I love you.
Curse.
Yes.
Lena, you're right, and I love you.
You're so
I will say,
right.
Zynon can sing. He just doesn't.
Of course
play
you
it.
can. Of course you
Yeah.
can.
You've got that like
Can.
growl.
Oh!
You know, Zion's got
Yeah.
that like twang and that
Yeah.
growl.
He is every good cover of like House of the Rising Sun.
Mm.
Ooh.
Yep.
Damn, I was thinking hurt, but like for sure.
Johnny Cash is too gravelly, I think.
I was thinking that might be but still I hear it. Like the
Ooh. Man, what if we just sang the rest of this? Should we just go to our Spotifys and just play
I
music?
can't
Let's go.
sing.
Let's do it.
I can't.
I can't
Don't make
either.
me do it
But I'm
publicly.
ready.
I have
can't
not
either, but I'll
actually.
do it.
I haven't touched a stage in 15 years. My throat does
You
not.
have done it.
I don't do it anymore. I used to, very much so. I do not anymore. No.
Also, Connie, you can't just sit here and lie. You do sing, and you're a great singer. So how
Oh,
about that?
thank you.
And how about
Yeah,
that?
Connie, you too.
Wait a minute.
Honey has
I
sang
have
on the stream
another-
before.
Yeah.
I have, yeah.
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 I have another funny question from Astrid. There are two funny questions that maybe we'll kind of tag team. Did your character have a stuffed animal they loved growing up? And if so, what did it look like? Another question is, what kind of old person would your character be? Old person archetype, like a get off my
We're
lawn,
seeing it.
cat lady, nosy grandpa. I know the answer to this question for Sayir. Sayir's the older gentleman who goes to the construction sites and watches them through the fence.
Oh my God.
That's the kind of old man
Oh
that
my
Sayir is.
That's so specific.
No, that's real. That's canon. I'm sorry, Val, but anything else is incorrect.
Okay, I have something hyper specific,
I'm ready.
which is okay. I think Ro is the kind of old person who lived such a repressed life that they are like catching up on their youth now. You know, like
I
the kind
knew
of old
it.
person who's like going
Oh,
out all the
yeah.
time, concerts, vacation,
Yeah.
travel,
At the
like,
rave.
all sorts of.
You
yeah,
just
at the
see them
rave, yeah.
in their wheelchair, like hitting 40 miles an hour in the nursing home, hitting corners and drifting
Yes.
Yeah.
into the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cafeteria. Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
Ro,
like
for
I
sure.
gotta catch up on so much living, and we're gonna do it now before I die.
Yinghe is a pro gamer in their old age.
That's
I
so
love
funny.
that.
Oh, like
Gamers
Yeah.
like gaming
They love
grannies.
grandpa
the streamers, like
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the grandma
Streamer.
streamers.
Yeah, grandpa
you know?
streamer.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh my god, do you have a TikTok?
Yinghe.
Yeah.
I probably just to post gaming clips, and then I feel like one goes viral, you know, and then like it blows up, and they get a following, and they get like really upset at hate. Well, actually, though, I don't think they would get upset at hate comments at all because they're very used to, I don't know, to kind of like being thought of in a
That's-
negative way.
Being the
So I don't think
monster
it
in the
would
deeply
shrine.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Stuffed
What
animal.
she said is correct. I've got nothing to add.
Fair. Honestly, like Zynon is that like, oh, there goes grandpa, we'll see him in a week. Outdoor grandparent. He comes by it rightfully. That's like every mask person of a certain age in my like entire family line. But Zynon didn't have plushies. He had birds when he was growing up. He doesn't need a plushie. There are
Aw.
birds everywhere.
Oh, that's so
That's
cute.
so cute.
Little baby raptors. I mean, imagine like if they're that big that you could like ride them. Imagine that they're like cat size when they're babies, and that's so cute.
That is so
Do you think
cute.
Sorna ever
Oh,
picked something up
jeez.
for him when he was like
Probably. I'm sure
child,
that
like a
his
childhood
parents
plushie?
actually like, yeah.
Like a little raptor plushie?
Oh, that'd be so cute. Like literally
Handbag.
anything
Or a
that
bug?
his parents
Like
got.
a beetle?
A bug. Oh, like
Oh
a
my
beetle. That would be
god.
so correct
Yeah.
and so cute. Yeah, he would love that kind of
Hand
stuff.
carved.
He's so yeah, he's so easy.
Carved.
Like, yeah, like a hand carved toy of a
Yeah,
of a
handmade.
beetle.
Yeah.
Of a little
Yeah,
beetle.
Yeah, or like a handmade
really
plushie.
cute.
He would love that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
Does he have any more? No, he has nothing from that. But
You just casually.
Damn. What
Hi.
about Lumira?
Lumira did not have a plushie growing up.
But she
Lumira,
remembers.
that part, low blow, but
see?
correct.
Not just me. Not just me.
Low blow, but absolutely
my
correct.
God.
Why would you say something so controversial yet true? No, I think. Well, from what she does remember, Lumira didn't sleep with a plushie. I think she was one of those that fell asleep with a book. Like if you saw, like if you found her, she had a
Nerd.
flashlight
Yeah,
and the book sprawled out
Mm.
across her. Yeah, like that was.
Oh no.
that's cute. That's real cute. That's real cute.
It feels like Sing and Seiya would have plushies.
Matching.
Matching.
Yes.
Matching.
Yeah. Matching.
Matching
plushies.
You have
ones.
matching.
Everybody
matching
immediately.
plushie.
Yeah.
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 I feel like
With a
that's
matching deer.
correct. I was thinking either a deer or like some sort of like canine because of
Or a
Sing's
lion.
like obsession with
Mm.
acquiring a pet, like some
Mm.
sort of like pet-like creature.
Listen,
Feels
I see Sing's bed as
Oh,
being one
yeah.
of those like beds covered in plushies.
There's so
There's,
many.
like,
She definitely
for
had like
sure.
a kid.
The one that
Yeah.
she has matching with Sayir has like a little bleach stain on top because her and Lumira tried to bleach the hair on it to make it white.
Oh my god,
Like
I
sayings,
love
that's
that.
so cute.
I love
I
that.
love
cute.
that.
Oh my god, that's so
She
cute.
definitely, one of her favorites is definitely a two-headed dog, but like the second head was clearly like put on by someone else because she heard of like a cool strike team member like talking about how they met this really cool beast, like this two-headed dog, and she was like, well, I have this dog, well, I want it to be two-headed, and definitely took it to Artemis and was like, can you please give me a
And
second
Artemis
head?
was like, I'm literally over 10,000 years old. Yes, I will sew you a plushie.
We see Artemis late at night with like band-aids on their fingers from the needle trying to sew it on.
She's got like the little glasses so that she could see the needle.
That's so cute.
She's like back
Oh
in
my
her chair.
I
So
love
cute
that so
because
much.
canonically, there is an item in Sayer's home of like carved deer on an altar that
Oh.
Artemis did in fact make for the twins. So the fact
This is true.
the fact that this is a continuing canon of like, yeah, Artemis just makes all of Sing and Sayer's toys. Love. Does that mean Sayer's version of that dog toy only has the one head?
Yeah.
She didn't
That's
ask
so
for the
funny.
second one.
Yeah.
And it's probably, I will say this, like his is probably like squashed to all heck because it stays in his bed. Like it's like one of the few pillows he has that he like holds onto when he sleeps. So it's probably squashed to all heck.
I love
Yeah.
that.
100%. That's so cute. Okay, one more question before we go to break. And it is from Azra, who asks, in dealing with nuance and complexity, there is room for numerous interpretations. Is there something you want to make sure gets across as a message to the audience from this arc? Which is a kind of big question. And I think I have at least one off the top of the dome, so I can start, which is, it's exactly like you said, Azra. Something that I want to make sure gets across to the audience is, it's complicated. Whatever you think the answer is, whatever the answer seems to be, it's complicated. And it's more complicated than that, too.
I think I'm going to second that, honestly. I don't think I could have said it better myself.
I will third it, and I will add on. I actually recently put out a TikTok about this. Not about this, but this was an example I used in my TikTok about how in this world, in this story for Arc 3 and broadly for Chaos, you know, morality is gray. There is always nuance. All characters are complex and flawed, including so-called antagonists, which is why I prefer to call them antagonists, because they're obstacles in the way of the PCs, but that is morally neutral, right? Like the PCs want something, which is neutral, and they're getting in their way, which is also neutral, right? And there are no easy heroes or villains, right? Everyone here has an angle, possibly multiple angles. Everyone here is doing things for reasons, right? And oftentimes those reasons really matter. And the context under which they're making these choices also really, really matters. And is not so easily hand-waved as, oh, well, this was bad. Oh, well, this was good, right? There are always consequences, and there are always larger histories that they're making choices within. And I would like to offer, specifically for Arc 3, that this was an arc in so many ways about cycles. And I talk about this at length during parts 1 and 2 of the Arc 3 retrospective that is currently both up on Patreon. So I'll talk a little bit more about it now. How it was really important for myself, for C, for Humna, and for everyone else at this table to like really honor what it means to be a member of like a, you know, generational cycles of suffering and trauma. And we see this with Ro. We see this with House Lanius as well. We see this with Willow and Yara and Aster, and how, you know, Willow is put in a lot of ways in a kind of impossible position where she feels like there is a curse called love, and that if she expresses it, she will doom her children, but also children need that sort of recognizable, explicitly expressed love, which is why kind of the end of the arc, we wanted to leave it in a place where Willow isn't discarded by Ro and Yara, right? But also isn't able to like just fully do like a 180 like change and like completely accept Ro and Yara as well. It's hard and it's tragic and it's complicated and it's not fair, but it's also still worth fighting for. And it's also important that Ro and Yara are able to forge their own futures on their own terms, right? And like kind of like decide what it means to be heirs, for themselves. And that was important, that they didn't just burn it all down or force everyone else to change in a very specific way, but that they were able to claim agency and autonomy within a greater understanding of these cycles of pain.
Yeah, I think to sort of piggyback onto that, for me, I mean, I wrote a bit for the retrospective as well, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself if you've already read that. But for me, it was really important in this story. I remember being in a like session 0 or dramaturgy session or something with C planning for this, and I remember being like, like I'm so used to seeing two extremes of this narrative told when we're talking about intergenerational trauma, right? Like on the one hand, like Connie was saying, there's like the everything is so bad and so irreconcilable that you have to cut your family off, you have to just burn it all down, you have to leave, you have to find a new family somewhere else because you cannot have this one, right? There's that story that often gets told. And then there's the other side of things where there's the kind of like the idealized situation, right? That we all want and that I wish we could all have, which is that the people that are hurting us, recognize the ways in which they're doing so, recognize the ways in which they are hurt themselves and perpetuating that, and then are able to change. And then are able to say, you know what, I was wrong. And, it doesn't matter that that happened to me. It's not fair for me to do that to you. So let's start over. Let's start something new and let's do something better. That's the other side of the spectrum that is ideal. But for me, at least for my personal experience, like I'm not sitting in either of those extremes, and I don't really anticipate my life being in either of those extremes either. And I live in this experience that's somewhere in the middle, right? Where it's complicated. Like C said, it's complicated. And because of that complication, I was like, I would love to be able to tell a story where we show a very complicated outcome for a story of intergenerational trauma that still holds the message of like, this is still worth living. This is still a place where you can find happiness and you can still be yourself. Because I think the sort of unintended consequence of only ever showing the two extremes is that it kind of sort of says that if you can't have one or the other, you will never be happy and your life is not worth living and you have to find one of these two extremes. And if you don't, like work really hard to do it, right? And I really wanted to tell a story where it's complicated and it's going to stay complicated, but that's okay. It's okay. And Ro and the Thakrars and Tavash and the Laniuses, like they can find happiness and they can live lives that are worth living, even if, we don't get to that ideal place or we don't get to a place that's so bad that we have to start over, So I really wanted to sort of bring that sort of grayness, as Connie was saying, into the landscape.
And to kind of even something that you did a lot, Hamna, with Ro, but also something that I came into this arc knowing it was something I was interested in was that like an individual's lowercase truth is not necessarily always the uppercase T truth, and exploring layers, levels, and the personalization of truth and how that can turn into conflict. And like, how do you, going back to what Connie was saying too about like, it's not necessarily that someone is the hero or the villain. It's that the choices we make are with the information we have or with what we believe to be true. And so like the idea that unreliable narrators are born out of limited perspectives or specific points of view or specific experiences, and really like driving at that, especially this arc, culminating in for me, the conflict between Zynon and Naeem, but perpetuating all the way through the arc of like, who do we trust? What story do we believe in? What's going on in Inferno and all of that stuff? All of those are not accidental, and like mystery is partly forming what you believe to be the truth, right? That's like the point of finding and seeking out a mystery. And so knowing that like us as like players at a table, but also like us as storytellers, we enjoy pursuing like variations and shades of the truth because there isn't one universal truth, right?
100%. I think I had one more to add, but I don't want to step on your toes, Val, if you had anything you wanted to share.
Everything has been spoken so eloquently and so wonderfully. I have nothing to add. I'm just so happy to be at this wonderful table with folks who speak so good.
And I love you for it. I'm also thinking, this is also making me think about, when you think about the fact that there is no truth, I also think about the importance in our narrative about paradox. Especially, I think, when we talk about the precepts, I think there's a lot of interesting and intended understanding of things that are true but can't possibly be true, because we said that can't possibly be true, but also that like is intentional because it's complicated, and even the precepts are complicated and have varying understandings of truth and so on and so forth. So I think paradox is a really kind of important word that's jumping out to me. And so is tragedy. Chaos Protocol is a tragedy told in many parts, in many forms, and in many iterations. And I could talk at length and quote many different sources about tragedy as a concept, and the idea of a tragedy is that you are so close to something that could be something else, but you know and I know and we all know that that's not where we're going, because we can't. Even if we can see it so clearly just on the other side of that Crimson River. And that's the tragedy, right? So chaos is a tragedy told in many iterations. Here on the Guest Protocol, which is a strange and weird way to take us into break. A true tragedy that we don't get to just keep talking about. I need to
way
switch.
to take us into break.
Almost
Yeah, really
strange,
ominous
yeah.
way to
Yeah, ominous.
Yeah,
but classic
it was
chaos.
a more ominous way to go into break than I intended. But we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll be back to answer some of the questions that have been in chat. If you have any more, please feel free to post them. We will definitely not be able to get to all of them, but we will try to get to all the ones we can when we come back from breaks.
Speed run them.
Yeah, thank you all so much for being here, and we'll be back shortly.
Yes.
Bye!
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the second half of our Q&A. I forgot that I had to do this part before handing it off to C because I assumed C was going to continue to MC. So just as a reminder of content warnings for this particular discussion, we will be talking about the themes of our show and whatnot, and our show is a dark fantasy series that may contain content that is triggering for some viewers. So this community stream may include discussions of oppression, discrimination and bigotry, fantasy violence, grief, vampirism, apocalypse, ghosts, romance, sexual humor, complex relationships, and parental conflict. You can use !CW at any time to get a reminder of these content warnings, and due to the live nature of this stream, more content warnings may be added to this list as the conversation organically continues and evolves. So with that, I'll pass things over to you, C.
Thank you. And I'll add a quick reminder that this stream also contains spoilers for arcs 1 through 3 of the Chaos Protocol. If you're fine with spoilers, feel free to stay. If you've seen everything, also feel free to stay. You could do whatever it is that you want to do. And if you need a quick recap, you can always use !recap in chat to get to our recap document. This may or may not also include minor spoilers for our other shows, but we will try to give warning before we spoil anything else that's not chaos related. In the meanwhile, my pair pad died, so I need to read off of my phone now, but we're going to come back with more questions. Thank you so much, patrons, for the questions in the first half. There was no way we could get through all of them, so I tried to answer some of the fun ones that we saw. But this is a question from Turtle in the chat, who asks, was it always the intention to separate from the Syndicate, or is that something that just naturally happened that you followed the story of? And I can say, as, co-runner and dramaturg, is that we knew that there would eventually be some kind of splitting, fictitious relationship between Strike Team Nova and the Syndicate at large. And it was a more organic choice to have that develop for the end of Arc 3. But kind of like what I was mentioning earlier in the stream when Connie and I sat down to answer a few questions, and we started to answer bigger and bigger and bigger questions, we also were like, okay, well, let's think about if this is going to go here and that's going to go here. I guess this kind of makes it the midpoint before that thing happens. So we're like, oh, so this is, I think it's time. I think we've set up 2 full arcs and we've set up all these relationships. I think it's time. Yeah. That was our board where we mapped out the last 6 streams.
Where we broke the story for the last 6 streams. You can see how fucked up, I know that deep lore nerds are going to freeze frame.
I'm scared. I'm like, what's on there? Is there secrets on there?
That's 100% what I'm going to do.
Do you know how funny it was when I went to a dramaturgy and C pulled that out and said, okay, look, I first need to explain this board to you. And I was like, okay, let's go.
I love breaking story on a board. C has we have an even bigger cork board that we need to set up with index cards and stuff. It's like the screenwriter in me, right?
I was about to say the screenwriter in me is frothing at the mouth with a storyboard
for that exact purpose. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Love a storyboard.
All to say, I am going to go back and blur it out so that nobody can see, even though I think it's fine. I don't think there are any major secrets on it. Yeah.
It just covers what happened. Yeah.
But hilariously, I do think it wasn't necessarily how it would happen, when it would happen, were all kind of questions that were up in the air that organically kind of came to their time. Kind of in the middle of this arc where we're like, okay, no. Because I remember coming into dramaturgies with each of you and being like, okay, so at the end of the arc, we're going to come here. So are you ready to start weaving that, knowing that that's where we're going to go into the what's happening now? And I remember that happening kind of in the early middle of arc 3, which is really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something I love about tabletops, especially how we run Chaos, is playing towards something together. We all know there's a place we want to get to emotionally and literally physically, which is jumping off of a bridge. And we all know, if that's the end point, how can we make the path there the absolute most gut-wrenching, like heartbreaking place, and like so many of the mini decisions, you know, are left to be spontaneous, right, are left to be discovered during play. And that is what is really fun about TTRPGs for me, is when we kind of get to co-sign our own doom.
You do also like write it in advance though, because like I'm thinking back to the beginning of this arc, and one of the very first things I think I said to C when they got in the call and told me was, "Wow, that makes that anniversary party really fucked up at the beginning of Arc 3."
Sure
Oh,
does.
yeah.
Like the last time we were at the Syndicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the intentional like framings of like, okay, you know, like let's start with Zynan's 10-year anniversary party. He's such a good agent. And by the end of Arc 3, you are running from fate and you are never going back, and it will never be the same again. And similarly with Lumira, to like not to be having that scene with fate at the beginning and then that scene with magic at the end, both very intentional framing devices for the start and the end of this arc. So yeah, it's really fun to see, like, because the thing is always the how emerges naturally too, of like, okay, so yeah, you're gonna not be, you know, we're gonna kind of like break you away from the Syndicate by the end of this arc, and then we get to have fun in playing the like improvisation of the, okay, so how exactly are we gonna do that? How are you gonna feel about that? And how are we gonna start setting it up right here and now?
What I will say, part of the beauty of the how is that we knew that Nova had to break from the Syndicate in some way, but we didn't know it was going to be magic that would talk to them until like literally like 2 weeks before that stream. Because I was like, or like a week even. I was like, who should
We
be
were
the
still
person?
deciding
Like,
who
C and I
it
were
was going to
talking.
be.
We were deciding who it should be. We were like, should it be Kimani? Like, oh, should it be like this? And then like we were like, what if it was magic? And that also resonated with a lot of like the big world building that we mentioned earlier, because we were like, oh, it actually makes a lot of sense thematically for it to be magic too, for reasons that will become clear.
Moving on to the next question, because I think that's the perfect time. Cliffhanger on the question. Oh God, I
remember
lost
this
my
for emotional
order.
damages later.
Yes. Jovi asks, how do the houses of Inferno choose heirs? Which I think is a really interesting question. Because Connie, do you want to hit this?
Yeah, should I? Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah. It depends. Some houses are based on bloodline and family, whatever that means. Sometimes family is related by blood, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's a mixture, right, of like blood relation and like chosen family, right? Some houses choose heirs based on skill and competence, like who more like merit-based approach to the role, like who is best equipped to deal with these issues at this time. Some houses are based on like a popular vote, or like it depends on like who has the most connections to people, which is like a neutral thing that could be good, right? Because if you are deeply enmeshed in your community, then you know what the problems are and you're probably very well equipped to solve them. Right? And so it just depends on the house and the priorities of the house and how their specific house culture is. For Lanius, I have always kind of like kept in my brain that Aditi and Tavash are a family. Like Aditi is obviously Tavash's mother, right? But like whether or not they're like blood related, you know, in some way, like that actually to me is like not very relevant. What is actually important is that Aditi is Tavash's mom and Tavash is Aditi's child, and they think of each other that way, right? And if Tavash and Ro had made a different decision and they killed each other, then, you know, Tavash was an only child, but Aditi likely would have, you know, adopted another child or created another child somehow, right? Or like brought in a different heir in a different way, like mentored someone else in a kind of like parental / mentor capacity. And that would have been, you know, how that would be passed on. So like selected by the current leader, whether it's like a child or like someone else, right? As for House Huyen, that one is a lot more on the skill and the charisma that I was mentioning earlier. Like Professor Toya Nifueko is someone that I've always imagined who found that role because she was just really fucking smart. She was really well qualified, and she also knew everyone in the house, and she like knew what the issues were and had like a game plan for how to tackle and address them. So like the house just kind of organically accepted her as a leader.
I think that if Strike Team Nova had stayed in Inferno, I think that Lumira could have very possibly been the next heir for House Huyen, as an aside.
Yeah.
That's like my personal headcanon.
Yes, definitely. And
I agree
not
with that.
everyone wants to be heir too. Like, because it is a position of leadership, but you know, if you want power, you also need to take all the responsibility too. Right? So it's a big burden that not everyone wants or desires or strives toward.
Which we even see with Ro. And I think there's a funny answer too of like the way that heirs are chosen is in whatever way is most beneficial for the kind of story that we want to tell, right? And we
Yeah.
specifically went into this wanting to tell stories about like parental conflicts and like relationships. So we made a structure in which those things would be relevant, like through the fabric of the world. And I think like that's kind of the fun thing. It kind of reminds me of the conversation that we have sometimes about like Schrodinger's being trans in the transplanar verse, right? Of like, when all characters are trans, is that a word that even means anything anymore? And yes, because it means something to us, right? Even if it doesn't necessarily mean anything to the world. I think like that kind of is the same logic that I tend to apply in situations like this, where it's like, are they blood related? Well, I don't know, whichever works best for the narrative of the story. And we get to think in really expansive ways about like undoing bioessentialist ideas about what a family is, right? And like really thinking imaginatively. This is a kind of a sidebar, complete aside, because I love making characters who were born in different and strange ways, right? Like characters that were born from the underside of a leaf, right? And that is just kind of like a normal way to have and create a child, is like very expansive and liberatory for me when I think about what it means to create life. It's just kind of an aside. That's all.
I kind
really
of like that though. No, but I think that's
Yeah.
really cool though if you think about it, because it reminds me back to Lumira's dream about Tungal and being with her mother, and her mother specifically stating to her that we wanted you so much, you were born from light. Like,
Yeah, literally.
right? And how I was like, hey, that fucks. That's really cool, actually. It has like a really nice connotation, especially with Lumira and her name. So I think that's like, I was like, that's actually really, really cool. I like that a lot, actually. That way of
Yeah.
Fun
thinking.
thing.
Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, go. No, you go. You're probably more related to what
Because I want to
Sam
finish
just
it
said.
as well. But in terms of like the transness of it all, right? Like, yes, we are all trans, as in we're all transgender. This is our channel. You all already know this. But also like C and Sam, you both touched on something that really resonates with me, which is the transhumanism of it all too. Where like, even in Inferno, which is like as close to like Earth, quote unquote, as any other plane that we've currently been to, because there's like buses and trains and there's people and there's buildings that we recognize, right? This like kind of shared visual language that we're able to pull on together. Even so, I earlier said, you know, a DT would probably like adopt or like make another child, and make insofar as maybe she would turn someone who was interested in it, or maybe she would, you know, I don't think all children in Inferno are made through birth as we know it, even outside of vampire stuff, you know, and why not, right? So I think for me as a world builder, I'm less interested in like the specific nitty gritty of like, okay, so what's like the biology of this, and like, oh, like what parts does this person have? Oh, and they would need to have one partner of different parts in order for this to happen. I'm like, no, that's actually not the reality of the multiverse that we live in at all, right? So like, kind of opening my own brain, because that creates opportunities for connections that we could have never thought of or had otherwise. And that's really important to me too. Why not? Someone in Inferno could be created from a puff of train smoke. Why not?
That rocks.
I mean, and you think about it too, in a fact of like, there's not not everybody that has the capability of birth can give birth. So, you know what I'm saying? It as we know it. So it kind of takes that element. When you take that element away from it, it allows more natural and nurturing, in my opinion at least, relationships between parental figures and children to evolve and to be and explore upon with that as well too.
There's also this like deeply this deeply intentional like will behind creation, which is very cool.
Yes.
You know,
I love
especially like,
it.
you know, when you say the sentence of like, if Tavash were to die, then DT would likely either adopt or make another child. Like I can imagine the will, the intentional will of a DT in making that other child, and it is compelling, extremely compelling. You know, in terms of creating a life.
Yeah, it adds some like really interesting dimension too, where we think about specifically the relationship between Aditi and Tavash, which is like we kind of like hint at the idea that they feel kind of stuck with each other in this unhappy way, which I think is like also an interesting question of would Aditi even be able to choose a new heir herself if like that relationship between her and Tavash was broken? And I would say like I don't know if she would be able to, right? Like there's really interesting like questions when we like start to open up this idea of family and like these choice structures too. I want to pass it back to you, Hamna, because I know you have something interesting to say.
Well, it's not really related to what y'all are talking about, which is why I'm letting this conversation go through. I was more so going to pull the conversation back because, like, I mean, interestingly, like when we came in and talked about like the House of the Crowd, we use words like parent and sibling and whatnot, but we never actually explicitly said that they were like blood related or anything. We were just like, no, this is just how they see each other. This is just the family that they are. And that was created. And I think for us, it was more so interesting to talk about, you know, what is the structure of each house and how does that play into the narratives? Like I remember us in a session 0 or a dramaturgy session talking about how like some houses may have multiple heirs or multiple like leaders, and you know not all houses are run by a singular leader. And I remember us establishing that House Sikra specifically is always led by one person with one heir, and it's a very like insulated concentration of power in the house. It's always like not quite authoritarian, but like authoritarian, you know, in the way that the house is run. And that's on purpose because that sort of reflects the dynamics between people in the houses themselves. And that is contrasted with other houses that are run very differently and are structured very differently. And so they would pick heirs differently and, you know, have different customs around all of that. So I think, yeah, I like even thinking about like how we planned it all, I'm like, it wasn't really important to us whether people were like blood related so much as like thematically, what are the dynamics between people within the houses and how does that reflect in the structure of the house.
You hit on something really vital that C said earlier when they were first fielding this question, which is like the answer to a lot of like the specific like world building asks, which I think are like rooted in a deep and genuine curiosity about our world, right? Is like, well, it's whatever is best for the story. You know, like a lot of the choices we make are toward that theme, like the theme that we're exploring together, or toward like the narrative that we're working to tell, or toward the story that we are agreeing to craft as an ensemble. And it was best for the story for House Trakar to be structured in this way, right? And then we can extrapolate greater world things from that, right? And that's kind of where the role of fandom comes in. You know, they'll like look at a piece of media and be like, oh, well, maybe some of this was intentional, some of this was unintentional. Regardless, that matters less than your own reading of the media with your own specific lens. And you can always read media with any sort of lens and your own experience, right? But I think that's fun, and that's where a lot of, you know, fan works come from. That's where a lot of theory crafting comes from. And it's also important to be able to like analyze a piece of media and recognize what it's trying to do on its own terms, and be able to hold that as a separate truth from like the lenses that we might be reading a media through as well.
I read Jovi commented earlier too, saying that part of the question came from a curiosity about how Tavash and Ro had met when they were both still mortal. And I think it is very intentional and interesting that, like, yes, a lot of the like heirs can be mortal first and be aware of like vampiric society before becoming vampires themselves. And it was actually important for us that like that is a willing choice that is made in adulthood, right? Rather than for children to be turned when they are young, even if they grow, that kind of thing. That's a great question.
The kind of complicated nuance being that even though being turned is a choice, it's also still traumatic because we were still playing with this idea of like vampirism being like an allegory or whatever for trauma. And so in a way it's like it's this kind of odd complex space of like, yes, they all chose to be vampires, but also it wasn't fun for that to happen.
And I would argue this doesn't necessarily disagree with what you said. I think it adds on to what you said that like even in our real life, I would argue that like everyone has trauma. The process of growing up is traumatic, and it doesn't matter if you are like the most privileged, insulated like life form in the world. It is still traumatic, probably because your privilege and your insularity it fucks you up too. Because it limits your worldview and perspective in a lot of ways. So I would say that like, yes, because if vampirism in a lot of ways is an active choice, moving into adulthood as an allegory, then I would say that it maps actually pretty cleanly onto like growing up as this like frictive thing.
Yeah. There's also the classic Interview with a Vampire quote of like all vampires are born from trauma. Right, which is kind of like just another like media cornerstone and inspiration that like swirls around. And were you gonna? Yeah.
I was just gonna ask you to please share this piece of dramaturgy.
Yeah, which that we had come up with explicitly, that the idea of Tavash choosing to be turned by Diablo is the only vampire Inferno who was not born from trauma, but who then experienced it after they were turned in the breaking apart of their relationship with Ro. So they're like,
Tavash was a vampire born from love, and the only one for that to be true.
Yeah. Yeah, we do some fucked up things in our downtime together. That's a great question. Let's move on. This is a question from our YouTube chat. So I rarely chat, but here we are. A lot of the speeches that come out in Transplanar are so cool. But how do you seemingly manage to come up with such interesting, colorful, and thoughtful monologues so quickly?
I was just being cute.
Sam, I nod.
I'll answer. I'll start an answer in relation with mine. So first things first, I am a consumer of all types of media, I think, and that is extremely important. I grew up a book reader and a theater kid, a writer. I'm a screenwriter. I went to school for it. I have a degree in it. I am very much so always trying to, while I'm consuming and watching, I'm always looking for new things that I can explore or exploit or touch upon within my own stories, and take those pieces in from my own perspectives. So while I am, how do I articulate this? While I think my counterparts do a lot better than me. Wait,
I will take you off this damn call. We will have a sidebar.
Hold on, let's give Sam a chance. Hold on, let's give Sam a chance.
Okay,
let's put our guns down for a second.
Thank you.
Keep them in your hands. But just
keep them in your hands. Just put them down.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Mm-hmm.
I think that watching and reading consistently and what I do, and watching the people that are around me, more specifically, help me rise to the occasion. Like, it's always never a matter of like trying to say the more cool or more colorful or more interesting thing, but just yes-anding my partner, and what naturally comes from that ends up becoming something so beautiful and so rich and so deep and so real. And I think a lot of that is and I mean, like, I don't want to talk for everybody, but I'm almost pretty sure I can say we all are consumers of all different types of media, of all different plethoras of genres and forms. So taking that and adding our own spin onto it, and then taking those pieces and finding nice bits and places narratively where they fit to explore those themes is how I do it. I can't speak for anyone else. See? Look
Okay.
at everybody. Put your
Yeah.
guns back.
Okay,
in
we
their
get
holster.
weapons
Put
away.
that down.
Put the
All
guns
done.
back in
Yeah,
the
that was a
holster.
good answer. That was a really great answer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna point up here. This person that I'm pointing to,
Which is C.
C. Thomas.
I literally just work here.
No, stop it. Like, it's that like I do have some background. I don't have nearly as much background in writing as a lot of the other people, but I did write a lot of poetry. Like I'm a published poet. I've written a lot of poetry. And just like that's how my brain works. And so language in that way is never that far for me, but the bigger thing is to like the words mean nothing if they're not strung together with meaningful thought and having excellent dramaturgy. And like Sam was saying, like cohesion between us as a cast, our scene partners, with the story at large and having theme and direction really does help like focus it down, because good writing has theme, it has mood, it has tone, it has all of those things. And that is what we do with our dramaturgy, with each other, and with the story that we're telling.
There is
Okay.
a thing there's a thing that C always says before we start every session, and it is chase the heart of the scene. They say this
Yes.
at
Every
the beginning of
single
every
time.
Yeah.
session.
Mhm.
And
Every
it
dramaturgy
is-
meeting, every
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah, it is, and it truly is like the power, the fuel, and the powerhouse that I think the cast and myself like chase after whenever we are like trying to have these big moments. And in terms of like these like longer like prose and monologues that we perform, essentially what it boils down to is like not only like our technical background and a lot of the work that goes behind the scenes, whether in dramaturgy or like myself sitting in the shower and thinking about all the different variations of a scene that could
Waking
come
up in a
and-
cold sweat at 2:00 in the morning, being like,
Never
"What if
happened
they
to
did
any of
this?"
Exactly.
I don't have feral notes all over my house. That's not a thing.
And,
I don't
and
kick C's DMs open at 4:55 in the morning with something
All of us.
wretched.
yeah.
Don't look at what time I said this. Don't look at what time I said this.
And like yes, all of that and all the technical stuff that goes into it, but it all is rooted in a very, very key knowledge of who our characters are, what our motivations and drives are in any particular scenario, and ultimately what we're hoping to convey to the audience, what we are hoping you all feel when we're done with it. Whether it is like, we hope you are emotionally destroyed by the end of this, or we hope that you will see Zynon in a different light after this, or maybe after this you realize that Sayer and Lumira have lots of romantic entanglements between
Fix
them.
your shit.
You know,
Or
and-
don't.
and
It's
it-
entertaining.
or don't. It's
Don't.
I'll just be
and
here
having
suffering.
that
That's fine.
But yeah, like that's essentially what we're doing with every single monologue, and I encourage folks to not feel bogged down by form or technique. Like technique and form can bring you to the next level, but ultimately the thing that's going to feel resonant in any of your performances or any of your monologues in future role playing is how you feel, how sincere it is, and how you're able to make that evocative and convey it to another person. That is the most important. Technique and form, that will come with time and practice.
Val, that's
And how
so
well your
delicious.
table holds you.
And how well
Because
your
I want you to look
table
at
holds you.
everyone here. I've been in so many tables where I'm like, I will say 3 sentences and shut the fuck up, right? Because I don't want to take up too much oxygen. And like, we have spent so much time cultivating between us. Like, yeah, take up all the air you need. Take a like whatever you need for this moment, do it. And if it's a problem, we have people who will guide us in a better direction.
Ooh.
I have 3 thoughts. The first is, I thought that was sparked immediately by what you said, Kai, which is, I don't believe in main character syndrome. I don't. Put me on trial. I don't believe in it. For several reasons. Put me on trial because I don't. You can't
Someone
make
get
me
that
believe
game
something.
out.
Yeah.
that talk lawyer game.
We have a lawyer. Put him on trial.
For several reasons. One, I know a lot of the time when people talk about this like phenomenon or whatever in tabletop, it's I would assume is mostly about like dudes taking up a lot of space and who only care about their own characters' narratives and like don't give a damn about anyone else. I would say that is like that gives the concept of a main character, I think, such a bad rap. I think that's selfish player syndrome, which is different from main character-ness and a desire to be the main character. And I think that phrase, main character syndrome, is so often used that it discourages a lot of players from taking space and from stepping forward and from investing in a story. Right? And it's often used as a cudgel against players who do these things, right? But like but maybe are so enthusiastic that they, I don't know, like intimidate other players who are like less confident about stepping forward. I don't know. I've seen this happen. and I am here in defense of earnest role players who want to be able to tell a story with other people at the table where their characters' desires, emotions, and goals matter, are important, are held by the narrative that everyone is weaving together, and that they will do the same for everyone else. You know? Because we're all main characters. I want my players to feel like that's the point of why I'm running this. I don't just want to run a game for a bunch of Joe Schmoes who like don't care about the world and aren't involved in the world and have no impact on the world in any way, shape, or form or their own lives. If I don't give a damn about that. So that's my first opinion. In terms of monologues and stuff, right? So it, like Kai said, it really depends on the table that you're at too, which brings me into point number 2 I want to make. There's a kind of funny like truism in improv, which is that if you're the funniest person in the scene, you're actually the least funny person in the scene because it's everyone else around you that's actually setting up the situation so you look really funny. So a lot of the times the funniest person, which tends to be like, that's a shorthand for a person who's just a good improviser who knows how to support their scene partners, right? Like that, those people, they understand the craft and they understand what the ensemble is like trying to go for, right? So here in this space, we're all awesome performers. I just want to lay that out. All of you rock. You're all incredible. You're amazing actors and incredible performers. And all of you have like both the instinct and the intuition for knowing when to step forward and when to like yield some space. And also the trust in each other to know that if you were to go for a big swing, if you were to try to take up an emotional moment or do something dramatically or like take a risk, you know, like put yourself out there in some way, shape, or form, there's the trust that the rest of us are going to be there to hold you. Like, we're not going to make a joke out of your big moment. We're not going to be like, huh, like, what the hell was that? You know, we're not going to judge you. Like, we're going to be there for you and we're going to add on to that moment. And that is a precious, precious gift in TTRPGs that I think holding on to this idea of the fear of or the hostility toward main character syndrome is diametrically opposed to. I think like you really need to be able to support other people stepping into the spotlight because then that gives you permission to do the same. If you're resenting people for doing that, then you'll never be able to craft a good monologue because you've completely missed the entire point of this. Mm-hmm. Which brings me to my third point about monologue crafting.
And another thing.
Another thing.
I wanted to plus one to what Val said about what C said about chasing the heart of the scene, which is the thing that C always says. And Val, you said it so beautifully about focusing on the emotion of it all. And I want to say that for me, it's immensely helpful as a GM. So much of my notes, I don't prep like encounters insofar as I don't do stat blocks for like minions or like a random table for like things that might happen. Well, I do that sometimes because it's fun, right? Because I can't, God, you know.
Hold on, wait a minute. I don't know. I've had to roll
an island boy catch a vibe.
I rolled the magic 8 ball.
I know. I do. So I do love a random table. I cannot lie. But so much of what my prep process looks like is actually looking at the scenes that might come up and really drilling deep into like what C said and what Val said is the heart of the scene. For example, Zynon versus Naeem. I wrote some notes about like what could happen like in terms of the fight, right? In terms of like the cool like duel, the shootout, right, between the two of them. But the most important part of prep for myself was Naeem feels rejected, feels abandoned, feels like Zynon is choosing oblivion over him. Oblivion, the thing that destroyed both of their homes and traumatized and orphaned both of them. So there's that anger too. And yet you as the audience know that Zynon is in an impossible position. He has to do this. But Naeem doesn't know that. There's not enough time to get all this out. And even if Naeem did, that doesn't change how you feel, you know? Like your logical brain can be aware that like, oh, this has to happen. But like your lizard heart is like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. So like that's a big important part of the prep for that scene where I'm like, okay, just focus on that pain, right? And as long as I'm grounded in that pain, I know where to take this character. You know, like no matter what happens in this scene, that's the heart of it. I'm chasing it, I'm grabbing it, tearing at it with my teeth. And as for myself as the game master, a skill I'm trying to get better at is cutting scenes earlier rather than later, and this just supports everyone's monologues too. Because like if Sam had an excellent monologue as Lumira, right, and then like the scene just kind of kept going for like another like 5-10 minutes, so the monologue has less impact than if I had cut it like right after the monologue. Then the monologue has impact, right? So part of making a monologue impactful is the skill and the intuition of the GM too. And like knowing when to cut it. And again, this is something I'm like learning to get better at because I know I should cut things sooner rather than later. But my 3 cents.
Okay, so I agree with everything everybody has said. So I just want to plus one everything first. And then I want to give you a gay and nerdy answer as to how I think about
Go gay nerd.
speech. Yeah, when it comes to playing a tabletop character. And I'm going to come from the perspective of performance specifically, because truly for a home game, do whatever, try shit, experiment, have fun. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to come at this from a performance perspective. So if you're thinking about how do I, as a performer in tabletops, play a character and I words good, how do I do that? For me, really and truly, in addition to all the things that other people have said, the biggest thing that I have done to try and help me, because I also, like similar to Sam, feel a little vulnerable about like my ability to craft like words in an improvisational setting. You know, I'm a writer. I write poetry. I write flash fiction. I can rewrite stuff if it sounds bad, but if I say it in an improv setting, right, like I don't have a chance to rewrite that necessarily. I mean, we do because we have the table culture where we can go back and redo it, but like generally speaking, if it's not here, it's not gonna happen, right? And so in order to get better at that improvisational kind of aspect of it, the big thing for me has been to learn from performers I like. And I'm going to get gay here and say literally every single person at this table is a performer that I am very like, I look up to in terms of how you speak, how you perform, how you play your characters. And you are all people that I really and truly have looked at, like your different performances. And I've been like, okay, what do I like about how you perform? I've like broken it down, right? I've been like, okay, I like the way Kai does this. I like the way Val does this, and Sam and Connie and C. Like I've taken all the things that I like about the way you perform that I want to emulate, and then I practice, and then I experiment, and I try to do those things myself, and I try to think about, okay, what characters might that work out with that I can sort of bring these different aspects into and learn from, and kind of like Frankenstein into like a weird homunculus monster that is now my own way and my own style of speaking in character. And the nerdy part of this is that I actually have notes. Because when I say learn from the people that you admire, I mean truly learn from the people you admire. I study. I like have a folder in my tabletop like professional drive called educational resources where I've taken notes about like these things. So I have one actually from a lecture that Val gave back in when The Second Stranger was airing, and you gave a lecture about when we were all the cast was doing like lectures. You gave yours about how to develop a character voice, and I actually still have those notes. Yeah, I took notes, and I still have those.
Have you
And
met
like
them?
same
Of course they did.
and same with C. C did a lecture during that series about how to create complex characters. I still have, and I literally just referenced that document like 2 days ago, to create a home game character. Like, so when I
Oh
say
my
like
God.
study, I mean like if that's your vibe, study. Like look at the people that you like and admire and figure out, why do I like them? Why do I like what they do? And is that something I can practice? Is that something I can do for myself as well? And I think that's where like um that's where like some of the fear, I think for me anyway, kind of like goes away slowly. Is I like pick one thing and I go, okay, for this performance I'm going to really try and improve on this one thing, and I'm going to let all of my other instincts like be what they are, but I'm going to really try and fix this one thing and improve on it. For Rose specifically, the like one thing I really wanted to improve on was specifically the way that they speak. I think I said to see in a dramaturgy where I was like, I feel like my characters kind of talk the same. Like they have different personalities, but I feel like they all talk the same. And I want to really give Ro a distinct voice from the other characters I've played. And so that was the one thing that I like really tried to focus in on. And I took all of the things from everyone else at the table that I really like, and like other performers that are not at this table that I really like, and kind of, practiced it. And I do feel like I feel proud of like my improvement in arc 3 in playing Bro compared to like other characters I've played. I do feel like they have a little bit more of a unique voice. Yeah. So anyway, take notes, study, practice, be a nerd.
Yeah.
Study.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that performance is a craft, and you can always work at it, right? And everything that everyone has said, I also agree with completely. And to even like jump off of what you were saying, Hamna, is that like, yes, it's a craft, and you can practice and you can improve and you can learn and you can be in spaces where you are encouraged to, and like be intending to learn. Like we do dramaturgy and acting notes at the end of every session, right? Like, and
invaluable, I will say, by the way, invaluable.
Yeah, quite
Agreed.
literally. Agree.
And that's like part of our table culture where, for me personally, like I'm just based on like my own body's like capacity at this point, and like my like evolving understanding of my own like disability, I don't have the time, energy, or resources to sit at a table where I'm not going to give it my all, right? And I'm not like improving and developing and encouraging my craft, right? And like sitting earnestly and going deep and being invested, right? So those are all really important things to me. And I think another thing too is that like, just because we work in an improvised medium doesn't mean that you have to go into every single moment unprepared. I write parts of monologues for myself and I keep them.
Yeah.
And like, that's totally fine, right? If that's something that helps you, cause it can launch you. What I do is I take like pieces. I'll write some fucked up nonsense, and then I'll grab like the sentences that mean the most to me. And those are like launching points for me to improv off of those lines, right? And to be like, okay, here, recent Sacred Machinations episode, I talk about bones, but I can't remember all of the bones in the arm when I'm trying to describe a redacted, right? Like, so I made notes for myself, and you're allowed to make notes for yourself. Don't worry about it.
Go listen to the episode. It's out now.
Go listen to Sacred Machinations episode 4. Not to toot my own horn, but I toot my own horn in that
It's very good.
really wild style. But I'll say, like, you can do that too, and that's part of the craft development, right? I think it means a lot if you care about something so much that you want to come prepared, right? Actors on the stage don't come into this unprepared. They have spent hours and hours and hours and hours working and developing. They prepare themselves with tools that they use as a resource.
And I think like preparation looks like different things for different people too, right? Like on the one end of the spectrum is writing like the exact things you want to say, and on the other end of the spectrum is like having vibes, or like, having a more loose understanding of like what it is, and there's a whole like place in between, right? And like different like for myself, even like I'm thinking about Row for arc 3, and like my preparation for each scene looked really different depending on what scene it was. Like some scenes I would go to see and we'd be like, I think this is a play to find out scene. I think we know what we want to do, but I think the words should just come as they come naturally and we play. And then other scenes we were like, no, it
The
really
words are
matters
really
what they
important.
say.
Yeah,
the words are
extremely important and
super
specific.
important. So we need
Yeah.
to pre-write them. We need to have it scripted. And so some scenes were like, some parts of them were scripted, and other scenes we were like, we'll figure it out when we get there, right? Like what happens with an understanding of like the heart of the scene and where we want it to go. But like in terms of the specific words coming out of our mouths, there's kind of like this spectrum. And I don't think that anything is like right or wrong, right? It's just about what works for you specifically. And there's no shame in kind of going in any part of that, I think.
One tool that I use often when thinking about like especially more improvised things though is like know the tools that you're using, the brushes and the paints basically, but in words. So like know the kind of style, the palette of words you want to choose. If you're, you know, going really florid or very like precise and evocative, and like know the world that your character speaks in, thinks in, how their narration looks. And like for me, I'm always the person saying like stories in the details, right? So like know what your character pays attention to, what matters to them, and the things that they talk about. And like be precise. This goes back to the craft honing, is like you think about like what your character does, says, and like pays attention to, and it frames everything in further and further. And like everyone in this call is very good at going like, this is the exact heart of like where my character is looking and what they're paying attention to. And it's one of the things that makes a lot of the language in the Chaos Protocol so good.
Can I share my notes from Val's lecture? Because I actually do think that they're quite... Val had some very good things to say. If I'm allowed to post links in chat, can I post it in chat?
I'm fine with that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also-
Oh my god. Professor Val, Professor Dorian.
Professor Dorian in the house.
Dorian!
Also, Sam, I saw
Dorian
you flash a
Esquire.
blue card if you wanted to share.
It's
Pass it.
fine.
I want to know what you had to say.
No!
Yeah, I
No,
wasn't
it's
eat your
nothing
brain.
like-
Nom.
No, it's nothing like that. I think that y'all kind of already touched on it in different other bits and pieces, so it's really no point in me like beating a dead horse.
The
Okay.
horse
Consider
is
I
a
love
dead-
horses.
The dead horse as much as you want.
Consider more horse in my life a net positive.
See, Thomas.
Well, we can always come back to it and keep talking about it. That was a great question. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
I think, Hamna, if you wanted to post that in the Discord channel too, so folks who may not be in chat right now or who may lose it as chat goes on.
Which
That's-
channel specifically?
Maybe general?
General or promos, weirdly? I don't know.
General or promo?
Okay.
Yeah, promos is like a nice place to like keep it because it's like a resource. Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah, promos is nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, take it away, C.
Okay. Let's move on to another question. Let's see. I think I am going to have to skip this question because we will talk about it for the rest of the night, which is, what character do you think is unfairly judged? Sing! Moving on. To question number 11. I know everyone was very excited about this one. Also from the YouTube chat, how many of the names in Chaos Arc 3 had meanings behind them, and what are they? Figuring out Olea is a scientific name that includes olive trees was a great knife twist. I'm going to start by saying that Connie puts meaning into every name that is created in this show. So you've
Every
been warned.
Single name.
It means
Every
something.
single name means something, either in how the name sounds or in the actual like cultural meaning behind the name, if it is like a culturally specific name, or if the name is a thing, then what that thing is, right? So willow tracar, oh, a willow tree. What do willows represent? What do willows look like? Why are they like that? Yeah,
Why are they
Olea,
like that?
for Olea, I
look up-
literally
You should look
Yeah,
up
you
when
should look up
Connie
symbolism.
names a character. You should
Yeah, just start
look it up.
Googling. Just start
Yeah,
Googling.
And sometimes I bury the meanings because I'll mash up two names together and each one will have a different meaning. So like that makes it
Andake.
even harder to trace. And Dake, I've talked about this a lot. And Dake itself means eggshell. Anyway, Olea specifically, this is how I came up with Olea's name. I went, okay, this character is a broken piece, was the possibility of peace, the embodiment of hope that died and was shattered and was broken. So what? And there's a lot of motifs about trees and flowers and plants so far. So what plant represents these things? Oh, an olive branch. Oh, perfect, because there was literally an olive branch offered in the show already via Strike Team Nova. What is the scientific name of an olive tree? And that was kind of like the process for picking the name. Humna, I know you have also very specific and intentional approaches to naming for Arc 3.
Yes. And I want to flag that I also want to hear about Lumira's name because that was a big drop this arc, and I think we all need to hear about that at some point as well. But yeah, I similar to Connie, like I think very deeply about like the names of characters, and so any character I've ever had, you can like there's a that name was chosen specifically, and you can figure out why if you talk to me. But with Rhododendron, so I started actually with the house name first because Connie in a session was like, okay, so like what's the house name? What's your house name? And I was like, I have to name it. So I thought about, okay, like what is this family about? And I for those who don't know, I'm Pakistani and come from a Muslim family, and so I really wanted to lean into that a little bit. I thought about, okay, this is a family who's really into arts, right? We run the arts and culture scene in Inferno. So then I started looking into like Muslim like artistic motifs, like especially during the Islamic Golden Age and things like that. I was like, okay, what kind of like artistic motifs show up in our work specifically? And something that I saw a lot of was that repetition is a artistic motif that is seen a lot in Islamic artwork, which is kind of serendipitous because I use a lot of repetition. If anybody's ever read anything I've written, I love repetition as a motif, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cute and nice. And so the word takrar is an Urdu word that means repetition. And it also works because this is a story about cycles, about repeating cycles. It's a story about repetition. So it has a lot of different layers to it for why House Takrar is named House Takrar. In addition to that, then, I was thinking about, okay, I personally just love a theme, especially if it's a house, where appearances are everything. I was like, I love a good theme, and I was thinking about what could be a fun theme to have for all of the characters. So I went to Connie and I was like, I have a wish, and I would like all of the House the Card like members to have names that are flora. So flowers, trees, whatever. I want them all to be named after that. And everybody has like a full name and then like a nickname that they use that is a shortened version of that name. So rhododendron came from, the fact that rhododendrons are rather dangerous, but they're also quite beautiful as flowers. And I wanted that specifically, where there's this beautiful persona that is also hiding something a little bit more sinister underneath. And so I picked rhododendron for that reason, and then Ro was the sort of like nickname. So you'll notice that all of the characters in the House of Gra have that naming convention. So Willow, shortened to Will, which we didn't actually use very much in the arc, but that is dramaturgically accurate. And then we have Aster, whose full name is Nasturtium, and then we have Yara, whose full name is Yarrow, and all of these being chosen for specific reasons. So that was kind of like the naming convention for the house, which I'm personally very proud of because I thought it was clever.
I think it also like unintentionally honestly played into the Arc 1 flora symbology that we were playing with a lot too. The fact that Sing is haunting the narrative through cherry blossoms. And that Aster then started haunting the narrative through depictions of nasturtium flowers, kind of in the later part of the arc. Yeah. That was sick. Absolutely
That was an
sick.
Accident, but it was a very devastating
really good one.
accident.
Really good accident. Really good accident.
Yeah, Yeah, I'd be happy to talk because somebody you mentioned earlier about Lumira's full name that was revealed in Arc 3, and this is something that I definitely like passed through to Sam first as like to get an okay from Fair. For the Tongal memory and for Lumira's full name review, it was really important to me to do a lot of like very specific and deep culturally relevant research, and a lot so the names specifically are draw on Yoruba culture and are written in Yoruba. And Ashin Yobi is a Yoruba name that means the one specially chosen from birth, which was really important to me for Lumira. And Oshupa Ferong is a mashup of two Yoruba words. Oshupa means the moon, and Ferong means beloved or beloved by. So I put those two together to kind of like infer beloved by the moon. So Lumira, Sam, I'll let you talk about Lumira's name, but like a lot of it has to do with light, right? Like the lumiere, like of it all, right?
Yeah,
So,
quite literally. I was gonna say, yeah. When I was trying to figure out, I think I spoke about this before, either like on stream or like in a mission debrief or something like that previously in an arc. But when I was trying to figure out a name for Lumira, I didn't necessarily get a feel for her. I wasn't 100% sure. And I had just happened to be going through one of my random Disney kicks. I was watching a lot of Disney movies at the time. And I was watching Beauty and the Beast. And one of my favorite Beauty and the Beast characters is Lumiere, the cute little candlestick. So I was like, that's interesting. Lumira. So that's
that's
where.
I love that story. That movie is what
Perfect, yeah.
inspired Lumira.
Yeah.
It's literally perfect.
And I think it's kind of fun too as well, because obviously like Lumiere is a French word, and there are specific parts of Lumira that is very intrinsically tied to like French Creole and like New Orleans, in places like that. So I think that it was like a nice all around tie up of names together.
Yeah, that name reveal, top 10 transplaner moments of all time.
Loved it.
Val, I know you
I need
have
to
some
ask-
really good.
I was
Oh,
just
go
going to ask because I'm sorry, it's going to bother me if I don't. You said chosen one. Does that mean anything? Should we be
The
worried
one-
for
Who knows?
Lumira?
I
What are you talking
am.
about?
I
I'm
said the
worried.
one specially
I'm worried.
chosen from
Yes,
birth.
but
Yes,
like
okay, but
that's
like,
functionally the
Connie,
same thing,
you can't walk
Connie.
that
Come
back.
on.
Yeah,
I
hold
think
on.
y'all
Connie,
are reading
please.
way too much into it.
Yeah,
Listening
I
right
don't
here.
care. Definitely.
You know, all that
my
stuff that we said about
God.
complexity, forget it. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
I don't
Forget it.
I'm just saying,
Don't
chosen
worry.
ones have a
Like
track record of
names.
dying.
You
I'm
forgot who you
tired.
were talking to? I don't die.
Okay. Well,
See, hubris.
Yours is
That's
different.
hubris.
Wow.
That's hubris.
Talk to me in 1 to 2 business years. Say, Val, you have some really great
Me?
say your name lore.
I do have great.
If you'd like to
Sayur name
share.
lore. Sure. Sayur, actually, I was like torn between a few names when we were doing Chaos Protocol, but I had emotionally in my heart been leaning towards Sayur. I remember putting a message in the chat, the production chat, being like, "Help me choose between these two names." Me secretly inside, choose this one, choose this one, choose this one, choose this one.
but also like Seer just like it hit the ground running, and we were all like,
It was great. Seir comes from the root Hebrew word seir, and it means the following. It means hairy, demon, goat, and tempest. And the reason why, and it also is the name of a mountain, a biblical mountain that who was it? Who was crossing there? I believe it was Esau who was crossing towards that mountain, and I have feelings about the whole Esau storyline. So we will not go into that point. But the reason why I found that name and I found all those meanings, I was like, that's kind of perfect for Sayer, who is um the main meaning that I kind of latched onto was the idea of tempest, because he, in my mind, has always been a tempestuous being. He is demon also was a great association to have with that name, and the name rolls off the tongue really well. It almost sounds like a growl, which is another reason why I wanted to have that.
Oh,
Hot,
It
Val.
does. Now that you mention it, it
Hot.
does.
Very
So,
hot.
yeah.
That's so hot of you.
Here. Yeah,
Sayer.
it's good.
See.
Sorry.
Was that
See?
C?
Get help, get help,
Oh,
get help.
See, please.
Excuse me.
God.
I
What
can
about-
only do so much.
Do you remember what the
yes.
other name was? Because I don't, even at this point.
Kalian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
I literally
Well,
forgot
that's
the
a
other
good name too, though.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
name.
Yeah,
too.
it is a
Kalian.
good
It
name.
means the
Mm.
it means the dark one.
Mm.
Get out of here.
Oh.
Leave, leave.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Cause
Leave.
God,
Yeah.
okay,
Leave.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 You know
Yeah,
how
But what if you didn't leave? What if instead of leaving, you came closer?
Okay, get help. Actually,
All right,
you,
with
get
that,
help.
I'm asking you, Kai. What about Zion?
The truth is, I'm usually the naming person that's in there searching for every detail of every name, and I didn't do that with Zynon. Because I was unsatisfied with how most of the name options that I was finding sounded specifically in the voice that I knew I was going to be using for this character. And I wanted a cowboy drawly sounding name. And so I literally just went around and made noises until a name fit the shape. And that is how
That
the name
tracks.
Zynon came to being. But Esh was not an accident. So I am a fair amount of my ancestry is from like the Germany region, and Esh literally means ash, like the tree, but also ash trees and a lot of other things have a lot of symbology and things like that in folklore deeply embedded in my lineage. And I just I found the name and I liked the whole sound of it, and then I was like, oh, and ash, like ashes, because I'd already created the character by this point.
Get help.
So
Kai.
yeah.
Man, that's fucked up.
I'm
Get
so
help.
excited about this. I've got dry eye. Yeah.
I got additional Sayer name lore to share with you.
Ooh.
I found my
please.
notes. Because I did a whole Hebrew deep dive after finding this name. But yeah, so Sayer also means bucks, as in the male deer.
Oh my god.
And
Nice.
God
additionally,
damn it.
additionally, the etymology of Sayer with the root sir expresses the intense negative emotion and experience of violence. Which I think was and I remember I see in my notes in big caps in these square brackets, this is it.
Yep. Well, you were right.
That's what's
Yeah.
written there.
That would be correct.
So,
That's perfect.
You just made me dig through my notes app, because of course I have a notes app that's full of names for characters that I can use. And funnily enough, the name right under Lumira, so I know I was brainstorming these two together. The name under Lumira was Solana, which I think is
My God.
very,
That's like
very, very fun and
Yeah,
poignant.
very
That's
good.
as
Ooh.
Artemis, like that would be really
Oh my
fun.
God.
That's
yeah.
We need like
fascinating.
an AU of everyone's other names.
Yeah.
Like we need to do like an AU
Yeah.
one shot. Yeah. See, before we talk about Artemis, I just want to very quickly talk about the Laniuses.
Oh, yeah.
And how Tavash is actually after Tavashtar, an artisan / maker god in Hindu mythology. And Tavashtar's mother is Aditi. So that's where the two
Perfect from.
Oh.
obviously
I made-
Lanius
I
is
love
the
this stuff.
scientific name for the Shrike.
I
I
made a
thought
face.
Aditi, but Tavash I did not know. That's awesome.
I made a face when I heard that, and I was like, and then I went back and I googled, and I was like,
I have to make myself not dig that deep because I will look up literally every name. It
I
will
know
just
this isn't
derail me
like-
in my life.
I know this isn't like intentional or anything and not the point, but I also it personally delights me in like a silly way that House Takra is like Muslim Pakistani inspired, and then House Lanius is Indian and Hindu inspired, and then there's like a clash between them. I know that was an accident, but I just think it's funny.
Spectre of the partition.
No.
Yeah. Look, I know it's an accident, which is why I just think it's funny that it happened.
Really funny.
Romeo and Juliet, but the partition.
That's for a different channel, I think. Netta said it best. That tickles me negative. Yeah. Yeah, that would be correct. Jesus Christ.
God damn it, I'm sweating now. Jesus, that was so unnecessary.
If Transplanter were a super colonial.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
So Artemis.
Artemis is named that because Connie chose that name on a complete whim while improvising a scene
Not a whim.
3 years ago.
It
I didn't choose
not
that name.
a whim. Yeah, no. It's because of Endake. Because like Artemis was first introduced as a character. Oh, this spoilers for the Second Stranger arc 8.
6?
So if you haven't,
I think earlier than that.
Yes.
We saw.
Oh, okay.
We saw that too.
Yeah.
5?
Okay, the arc.
I have arc 5 because I think it's
6.
when. Okay, spoiler for arc 5 and onwards for Transplanter. I think it was when Sitlali and Oka went to Earth, or when Sitlali saw Earth through.
Yeah,
their
it was an
vision.
Yes.
Adam related.
Yes. That was
Yeah,
when we
yeah.
first saw Artemis, but we didn't know her name until like arc 8, I think. When
Oh yeah.
huge spoilers for arc 8.
Yeah.
When Dusty goes to trans and like and meets Artemis. And that was chosen specifically because I was tickled positive by the idea of referencing a moon goddess in a world where there was no moon, even conceptually. That was just the Connie. It was just me fucking with the players, to be quite honest, was kind of where it came from. But
And then it
has
stuck,
since-
so now you gotta
And
ride
then
with
he
it.
said, "This is mine."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And now
the
I'm
name
driving
has
the
a
car.
lot of meaning, actually.
And now I'm in the car, and now I'm driving
the car.
You may now unmute. Okay. That was a great question. And when I
Maybe
said
one last. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll do 2 silly ones back to back because I know
Okay.
we prepared in the green
Yay.
room for these. Let's see. Where is it? Because there's so many good questions, y'all. And maybe we can even like jump into the Discord later on. And if anyone is compelled to answer any of the questions, please feel free to do so.
Sure.
A question from Maud Jordan, our beloved. If your characters were a song from 2007 for this arc, what would they be? Connie, what would Inferno's song from 2007 be? I know y'all prepared.
Oh God.
Hit it.
Connie's just gonna ignore you.
Wait.
I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. I have my answers.
That was for the room. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I was
okay,
waiting
sorry.
for
I thought you
anyone
were
to
asking
speak.
Connie, so I
I
was
was
waiting
waiting
for
for any of
Connie.
you. I
thought it
you
was
talked
for the
about this
room.
for so long in the green room. What's happening?
Well, I said 2007 was very specific of a
Yeah, we
choice for me.
expanded
So we had to expand it just a little bit. I saw what you dropped in the chat of songs and I looked it over just briefly and I still like the ones
No,
I
that's
picked
fair.
better.
No, that's fair. I was just gonna say asterisks because it is possible to get a good grade in the Q&A and very normal to want, possible to achieve. I did pick specifically songs from 2007, Jordan, just so you know.
You're
I did the homework correctly.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Hamna,
Hamna,
the
the A
academic
student,
jumped out.
would you like
right,
to
the
talk about-
academic.
Yeah.
Which of us is Lumira for real here?
You can't do this. You can't do this to me.
Which of us is for real? So I picked 2 songs because I have a hard time picking just one, and they are just from 2000s in general. Early 2000. I stopped at about 2010. But the first one is Unthinkable, I'm Ready by Alicia Keys. So if you
Oh yeah.
You can read into that however you like. Second one,
Sam.
Ego by Beyonce.
Okay.
Too
Ooh,
big,
nice,
too
nice,
wide,
nice.
too strong, won't fit. I talk like this because I can back it up.
And damn right you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
All
just
right, my
right.
two
That's
picks, because
Mira.
I did also pick two because I couldn't decide.
You're gonna have to
are-
dock some points.
I know, I didn't do it perfectly, but I
Yeah.
did. But I think I get
Sorry,
many
this is
points.
deep.
for
That means you were
specifically
genuinely
picking-
upset. I saw your face crumple. I'm not. Jesus.
Because I wish I could have picked one. That was the prompt. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Please
Extra
don't.
credit. Extra credit. You're
Don't psychoanalyze me, okay? You're learning nothing. So the first song is Fall Out Boy's "This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race," and the second is the phrase "How to Save a Life."
Remember when I said
Can't
that your
help.
other pick was too on the nose?
Oh,
Why'd you double down? Why'd you triple down? You doubled
Look.
and tripled down on the choices. You know what? I'm gonna let you have it, friend. You got it.
Thank you. You're so generous and kind.
I also picked two songs.
Oh my god, all of you.
They are from 2007.
Extra credit.
I believe the first song maybe from the end of 2006. Dock me, I guess. But the first song
A-.
is "What About Now" by Daughtry.
You and this
for
fucking
s-
Daughtry, Valiant.
I know,
God
I know,
damn
I
it.
know.
There will
Daughtry
be
exists by this
Daughtry
point.
in every character playlist for Sayir until the end of the
It's
Chaos
so
Protocol.
funny. It's
I think you get
funny
extra
every
points for
time.
that, for the consistency.
And the second song is "Wait for You" by Elliot Yamin, which is exactly in 2007. Please enjoy.
Mhm. I picked one song.
Good job,
One
Kai.
song.
Underachiever.
Not-
I'm just kidding.
Not from 2007, but close.
A.
I picked specifically the Peter Gabriel version of the Book of Love.
God damn it.
One of my favorite songs of all time that has been in Zainan's playlist since the beginning.
You get help too, sir.
It's just a song about loving people. You stop that.
Artemis?
I'm
Inferno?
I just pulled up, if you saw Beyonce in the captions, no you didn't. I'm doing research.
Listen, if it's the picture that I think it is, you're right.
I am
Honestly.
right.
You might
They can
see
caption with
Beyonce
that
in the
any day.
captions, but it's probably coming from me.
Okay, I'm also looking for Artemis, just off of this list that you posted, Humna. Maybe, where did it go? Thanks for the memories, Fall Out Boy.
Oh,
And / or
Yeah.
Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol.
Damn,
my
chasing
God.
cars. I hear
Oh
you're
my
chasing cars.
God.
I hear you're chasing cars, and I raise you Who Knew by Pink from that list.
I love that song. Another good
Mm.
Zainan song, but I'm not picking a second song. You can't make me do it.
You just did.
Go listen to these songs, folks.
Yeah. Connie?
You're not going to get anything from them at all.
Oh
Absolutely
my
not.
god. It's so hard for me to
So
choose.
pained.
Because how can a single song from 2007 represent an entire city? And the answer is it can't. But if I had to choose, from the list the Humna sent, this is
Well, it doesn't have to be
It's
from,
from
the list,
Wikipedia.
It's from Wikipedia.
but-
but from
for those
Billboard
in the
Top 100.
chat, it is it's a list
I'm
of
about to drop
it in
a
the chat
Wikipedia
right
now.
article of the Billboard Top 100 from 2007 specifically.
I'm going to put it in the chat.
And technically, the song came out in September of 2006, but it charted into 2007. Welcome to the Black Parade by MCR.
Oh my fucking
God damn it.
God.
No, that's correct.
just
No,
told
that's
Tom
correct.
Yeah.
the new
That's
pick.
the correct choice.
Yeah.
If I had to pick an album, this album is not from 2007, but it defined the sound of alt rock from the 90s onward in a lot of ways, is The Downward Spiral by 9 Inch Nails.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
Is
yeah.
what I would say.
that's a vibe too. That's a vibe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Came out like
Yeah.
1994, according to Wikipedia.
I just had
I'm
one of
re-
those, oh my god, I'm older than I realized.
Old? You just
yeah,
looked at the
yeah,
chat
I just saw the same.
Yeah,
we
did you
all saw
also?
the
Yeah,
same message.
no, I have
Oh
the
my
same
God.
thought. I have the same
Oh,
thought.
okay, I saw
I don't wanna
it,
look
and I was like,
Fuzzy, that
that's
hurts.
the
Yeah,
second
don't
time I
look.
saw it. I saw it the first time, and I was like, well, I'm gonna
So,
go get my icy hot and my beignet after the stream. I guess I'm going get in my bed because I'm clearly elderly.
The children's.
I will leave now. Goodbye.
Good night.
but not before one more
As an
question.
old man.
I'm just an old woman.
What did I promised I'd leave you off on one. I think this is the perfect one to do so. A question from Calico Boy 9, who asks, what fanfic scenarios and tropes do you hope that Chaos Protocol fans write about in the future?
I
We
feel
have
like
to
the
let
question
them.
was written specifically
Yes.
for me. Come very close when I tell you this. Smut. Hurt.
Trope.
Hurt, no comfort.
Enemies to lovers. Slow burn enemies to lovers. Where they go on a trip together because they work together and they have to, but they don't see eye to eye. But guess what? When they get to the hotel and they check into the room, it's only one bed. Write it. Thank you.
Jesus Christ.
Make me blush.
Jesus.
That's the goal. Make me blush. Make me read it and go, ooh. That's what I want. That's it right there. That's my brand. Clock it.
I love you so much.
After 10:30 p.m., this stream goes off the rails
Translator
every
after
time,
dark.
consistently
Translator
every
after
time.
I think for me, the specific, if I was indulging myself and I got to ask people to make a thing, I want all of your headcanons for Row to Vosh pre-Arc 3. I want the enemies to lovers to enemies. Hurt, no comfort. I want it. I want to know what your headcanons are about what their relationship was like.
What kind of fucked up shit they did to each other?
Get
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the
Yeah.
thing is when they were enemies, they were going tit for tat all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
They
love
were
it
going,
here.
"What for that?"
Thanks.
tit.
You're welcome. Someone clip that out of context and cancel my mouth.
Oh my god.
I have a thought. I have ideas.
Okay.
I love, and C does not feel the same way, but I love. I don't know why I said that. But I love an AU. I
AUs? Why would you
No,
say
C
it to
likes
me like that?
AUs. C likes AUs.
I
Okay.
love modern AUs. Modern AUs when the source is like fantasy or high speculative. C doesn't like that because he's
That's
like, well, because C really likes the high fantasy. of it.
Well,
It's
is
like,
that true? Because you
out.
came up with a modern AU for Oka, Kane, and Jiran that one time.
I did. It's not. I won't never. It's like how I feel about dinosaurs. Okay, I don't dislike dinosaurs, but if I could do something else other than putting dinosaurs in my media, I would do that instead. I'm so sorry, Gwen. I apologize.
chat for no reason.
Is she holding a gun to your head about dinosaurs?
I felt something
Sorry,
strange
I feel
shift.
about animals.
Okay.
You felt a
love
disturbance in the ether.
I went, ooh, I think I just broke a friendship. Ooh.
I also love what ifs. There is a fic out there that I did read recently, a Chaos Protocol fic, where it's instead of Zainin who survived from Keseki, it's Doxa.
That was
I love shit like that. Shit like that. I'm like,
that was fucked up affectionate.
Yeah, kill someone else instead of sing, and then write about what happens after that. You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I may
What
or
if
may not have
Sayir
been
was the
working on that
chosen
fic.
one?
Ooh, yeah, like
that shouldn't
sorry.
have happened. That seems like
Yeah.
an incorrect response from the universe. In terms of fanfic, I need you all to come very close. I need you to hear me and not judge. Hear me, but don't, listen, but don't judge.
I might.
Yes,
Star
again,
Wars AU.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I need
I'm
a
not
Star
judging
Wars
you at
AU.
all.
I'm not a
I'm
Star Wars
agreeing with you
person,
and
but-
saying you should say it
I
louder.
am judging.
I need a Star Wars AU. I need a Wheel of Time AU featuring all of the Chaos Protocol
Wheel
characters.
of Time, I'm down for.
Mm-hmm.
Locked Tomb AU, I'm down for.
Of course you are.
I
Pokemon
Also-
AU.
I mean, we already part.
Pokemon
Pokemon.
AU, where everyone is trainers.
Okay,
And what
my
would your Pokemon be? What would your team
my
be?
self-indulgent thing is make a Life is Strange AU.
Of course.
Aw.
Of course. Mhm.
That
Mm.
tracks, Hamna.
do you mean make a Life is Strange video game based on the Transplanar Protocol.com?
Yeah.
Oh.
The Transplant
Yeah.
Protocol.
I've lost it.
Wheel of Time AU. Man, I'm gonna be thinking
Yeah.
about that for the rest of my fucking life.
You could write it.
I was actually in the middle of writing a university AU for Chaos Protocol, just for fun. For everyone, it's like college.
I'm kind
like
of
grad
intrigued by
students.
that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Also, you know what? Xenofiction AU. I want y'all to challenge yourselves. Give me the personas of every single character.
You're
Oh.
so fun.
I was thinking, I was like Alien. Like
I also thought you meant aliens, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I was
aliens.
like,
Okay.
so we're aliens.
Furry
Mm.
AU. Do it
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Do it for Val.
I'm into that.
Do it just for
That was-
Val.
I
That was
also
what
love
want
classic.
fanfic. I'm easy.
Warrior cats. Someone just said warrior cats.
No,
That's for C.
yeah.
That's
Let's put that in my pocket and move right along. I think also something I love is what was someone else doing while this thing was happening type fan fictions.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
I
what
love
have like
that.
Strike Team Phoenix been up to? Like, what happens when they go back to the
Yeah.
Syndicate after this? What were
What
their
was the day
missions
after
like?
we left the Wild
I
Sea?
love when a fanfic does that, where something happens in one chapter and then the next chapter you
Bounce right
hear
over.
the opposite side of that conversation and what it was like for the other person. That's so delicious for
I love
me.
that.
Love,
I love
that.
that.
Always
Love a
good.
changing
Let's see it from
POV.
Artemis's perspective. All of this.
Ooh.
Yes. I also believe
Chaos from
similar-
Artemis's perspective would fuck.
Mhm.
Yes, it would. Fuck so hard. And that's actually something like that's another type of fic I really like is when you follow one character that like the show itself or the media doesn't get to for any reason. Like and then like the author, the fic writer really gets deep into the psychology of like this one character and just follows them through their internal process.
I would read a Naeem fic.
Ah.
Oh yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? That just reminded me. I'm going to talk about this for forever because I really, really enjoyed it and I thought it was really good. I wish I could remember the name of the author right now. But I read one chaos fic that was like, and I'm pretty sure I brought this up to y'all already previously, but it was like a character deep dive of Sayir and
Oh my
like
god, yeah.
his
Yeah.
like and like what it was like him like battling with his doom and like and it was centered around the conversation that Sayir was having with Professor Ifueko. So while Lumira is writing her dissertation on the board, it's like the inner psychology of Sayir during that conversation with
Mhm.
Professor Ifueko. Whoever wrote that, stellar,
Chef's kiss.
stellar, chef's
Yeah.
kiss, chef's
Yeah,
kiss.
I love that shit. I love it.
Oh yeah, we do read the fics.
Oh,
I,
yeah,
Dude,
but
we
we
have-
avid
But don't be
reader
afraid.
and
Yeah,
They
writer.
don't like
You have
don't,
to
but don't be
No.
afraid by that,
Yes.
please.
No, please.
Yeah.
I actually really I love it all. I am quite literally I wish I could show you my phone. I have tabs of multiple pages of fan fictions and it's all broken up by like fandom and ship. Like I am a fanfic reader and a writer. That is what I do. That's my cup of tea. Please don't be scared by it. I absolutely fucking love it and enjoy it every single time. Please do.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Y'all
I think
are
we
really
find
talented.
I don't want to speak for everybody here, but I think it's fair to say that like we all just feel very flattered when we see
Yeah,
like a
like,
fanfic
yes,
about our
yes, it's very
characters in the
flattering.
world.
It's like
It's
I
amazing.
inspired somebody to want to
To make
create art.
Make something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any
about
kind of
me,
any kind of
let's-
transformative art. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the biggest gift I think any of us can actually really ask for in doing what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
We
my
were just
God.
praising Calico that fic earlier, actually. So yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes,
so
indeed.
good. Yeah, I love all transformative works. That's why I said, like, literally, if you write a fanfic, I'm getting what I want, which is you've done transformative work responding to the art that we make with so much love, and you love it so much you made something. So, like, that's
Yeah.
it. And
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Literally.
100%.
I love that shit.
Yeah. And I joke about haunting the transplaner tag on Tumblr too, because I do check it and it means a lot, but I also try really hard to like give fandom its space. Right? Like
Yeah.
specifically like if it's like
Same.
fan works, I like to like repost, and like comment and be like, this is so cool. Because it is so cool and it means a lot to me to see it, right? But if somebody's like writing thoughts, even like positive, negative, whatever, like I just try to like be like, give you your space to do that in fandom. So don't be afraid of the tag. And I
Yeah.
think it's the serotonin
That's a really good
boost
thing
is
to
like
point on too.
Because
Yeah.
we
'Cause
don't
I
want
think,
you
like,
to feel
the
like we're like,
Yeah.
monitoring.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the Discord
You know.
is separate from like everywhere else, right? Like
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Like, the Discord is our
very
space.
specifically, like it's very specifically like where you can interact with people. The expectation is that everyone here is looking at it, but like people deserve to have a space to just kind of yell into the void without worrying about like the creators necessarily like
Yeah.
interacting
Yeah.
and getting involved.
Feral
so-
goblin space.
yeah,
Yeah,
Feral Goblin
exactly.
space.
Feral goblin space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And
I
you have
I
that.
think of it like I think of it like on the opposite end of that, of being like, so, and this is just perspective putting out there. If I was Beyonce,
Okay, yes.
if I was Beyonce, the last thing I would want to do as Beyonce is to consistently check up on and troll the Beyonce and reader fix. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Mhm.
like if it comes across as artwork, yeah, that's nice. Oh, that's so cool. Wow, blah 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 blah. But in fandom spaces, I wouldn't want someone from my fandoms coming in and seeing how fucking feral I am about Swan and Moiraine from Wheel of Time, right? Like that's horrifying to me thinking about that. But I'm feral on Tumblr about it. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so I give fans that same grace to have that space and to be feral fans us in their own spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very important to
100%.
me. And some people like to sign their name to it, which is great. I also really respect people who like to be anonymous about like the fics and the works that they make, because I do that. I am I will not
You'll never
ever
find
reveal
my
publicly what my fandoms are or what I've written or my pen name at all. You will not find it because I am not attaching my name to it. But
the ones I bring
understand
up,
that.
I haven't wrote anything for yet. So have fun.
You
Yeah.
will never learn. You'll never learn of my fanfic history. You will never know.
You'll never know. It's like
The other thing I think what also helps is that know that we're all fans of each other and the story that we're telling. So it's not just like I've read the Seer fic that Sam was talking about, because we also like I would read that fic if I were just a consumer of this story.
Mm-hmm.
same. And we are fans of our own story.
Someone. Owie.
Yeah.
The funny joke that's not actually a joke that I say is that I was fan cast on Transplaner. We were just talking about that in the green
Yeah, we
room.
were.
Because I was a fan of and watching The Second Stranger before I met C and before we became friends and they invited me onto Transplaner. So the funny like joke I like to tell is I was fan cast for this.
That's
Oh my
cute.
God.
I thought of a cursed joke when he said that, being like, "Oh, the Transplaner movie fan casts. Who's gonna play Connie? Scarlett Johansson."
Oh my god.
No,
That is so
Curse.
Not this.
Oh. Yeah.
Not like this.
Oh god.
Should we? I have a proposal for how we might sign off on this, especially as we wait for Sam to return, so we can have a full cast sign off. There was a question that I'm highlighting in our doc that feels like maybe a sweet way to sign off. If everyone
Yeah.
are interested,
I
in
have to go
offering
find it.
advice.
Yeah, I don't know.
I closed the tab.
Where'd it go? You're highlighting it?
Yes, I'm highlighting it. I'll
It's
pull out
question
the-
27.
so
Oh,
it's-
that is really sweet. Yeah.
right.
Let's
Okay.
do it. The question reads, any advice to queer youth who want to make or do content similar to Transplaner? And I think a bit of advice that I can share is you'll always be stronger when you work in community, and you will always be stronger when you are working amongst your peers, too. And I think the only way to grow is to start and be open to growing and making mistakes and learning, and use the resources that are available to you, because I think a lot of us tend to go on to podcasts and we talk about all of this kind of stuff, and it takes some legwork to find, but there's a ton of different resources, and use the experience of those around you, and use teamwork and community here to your advantage. And to, I think, also speak from your perspective. Don't try to tell someone else's story. Tell the story that you can tell for yourself. Tell your story and highlight that. That's my
I would say
6 cents.
specifically for queer youth, this for anyone really, is read a lot. And read a bunch of different things too. So read news articles and read scientific articles, read works of poetry, but read stuff. Reading is really crucial. We were talking earlier about craft in terms of developing a monologue, and Kai was talking about how, for a character, you want to be able to choose from a vocabulary that character would use. To develop that vocabulary, you have to have one in the first place. You have to have a wide repertoire of words, a wide repertoire of literary knowledge, and literary traditions that you can draw on, and just read a lot. And another really important piece of advice that I would tell young Connie 10 years ago is that art is a marathon, not a sprint. And that done is better than perfect every time. So if you are waffling between, this thing is 70% done, but I really just want it to be perfect. I want it to be 100%, but it's at 70. I want it to be 100, and you've been working on it for 6 months, 12 months, just get it out. Finish it. And like C said, you'll learn from the process, right? If I had waited until we had all of our ducks in a row to start Transplaner, I still wouldn't have started it by now.
Yeah.
We started with kind of crappy mics. We were streaming. We didn't really know what we were doing. You know what I mean? But we started, and that's what matters. And what matters is that we learned from our mistakes, yes, and also from just experience. We learned what we liked, what worked for us, what didn't work for us, and we had a process for integrating what we learned into production. So I would say another important thing is to identify your goals for your project, whether it's a AP channel or whatever it is, the art that you want to make. Identify your goals, and then think of strategies you can implement to achieve those goals. Also ask yourself, what does success look like to you? What are you trying to get out of this experience? Are you trying to just make really good art and put it out and have people resonate with it? Great. I would recommend different strategies for you than if you were trying to make this a part-time income stream as well, or your main gig or something. I would have very different advice and very different perspectives. Yes, Sam.
I was just going to point out +1ing what you were saying as well. But I'm also gonna go out on a limb and say it also does not hurt to surround yourself with like-minded people, creatively and otherwise. Surprise, I'm taking my first forerun into the GM seat very soon. And
Yeah.
I was
Bark, 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 bark.
and am absolutely terrified because I've sat at tables with amazing other GMs and I'm just like, what if I'm not? But I have Connie and C that have been nothing but 100% supportive and there whenever I have questions or if I need any type of guidance or knowledge or something along the lines of that. So it also does not hurt. I'm saying that to say it also does not hurt to have some people that are in your corner as well that want to do the same things that you're trying to do. And also, and most importantly, more than just wanting to do the same things that you want to do, but want to see you succeed in doing that same thing in your own way. And that will help by miles.
I think I have
Um,
2 things. The first is something that I say a lot, which is make self-indulgent art. And what I mean by that is that the process of making the art that you're making should be fulfilling in and of itself. It's not just for you, but for everybody involved in the process of making it. So if you're working collaboratively with other people, it should be fun, resonant, cathartic, fulfilling for all of you to have engaged in the process of making it. You should make something that if somebody else would have made it, you would be so excited to watch it, listen to it, read it, see it, right? If you make it, if you make something that you would be excited to see out in the world, I think it shows in the process of when you're making it, and it like really comes out in the end product, and we can see that it's made with love, made with care, made with fun. And kind of an addendum to that first point is that, you know, if something is fun and fulfilling for you to make, it becomes a lot less, in my opinion, a lot less about how successful it is or how wide reaching it becomes afterwards, because the making of it was so impactful in and of itself. And like, of course, it always hurts, you know, when people don't see it or don't like it or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, the thing that's important is that the point of making it was good enough, right? Like when I think about the productions that I've headed, like I think about Goodia, and I wasn't sure if that was going to actually do well, right? I was kind of taking a swing that I was a little nervous about, but it was something that myself and other people at the table really wanted to do, and I'm very lucky that I still hear very positive things from the people that were involved in that project, that they really enjoyed being a part of it, and that that was something important to them in some way. And for me too, like I feel that way about it. And so even if Goodia had panned and nobody had liked it and everybody was like, "What the fuck was that?" I would still hold that project very near and dear to my heart because it was very impactful for me to make. And I feel that way about like Laurie's House too, for example. You know, regardless of how it does, the process of making it was so important to me. And I encourage you to make art that you feel that way about. And then the second sort of piece of advice that I have is to take your time, especially because the question talks about making content, which makes me think that I'm going to make an assumption about the person who asked, which is that you want to become a content creator, so to speak, and put it out there on the internet. And if that's the case, there is a lot of pressure from the way that algorithms are set up, the way that the space just generally is, the way the industry is, for people to churn out content after content after content after content really quickly. And in my opinion, that devalues the quality of the stuff you're going to put out because you inherently aren't thinking as hard about it, you're not thinking as long about it, and you're just going to put something out for the sake of putting it out. And that's going to degrade the quality of what you're making. But also, too, and more importantly, it's going to burn you the fuck out. Like mentally, emotionally, physically, it will hurt you. And I know it's really hard. I know it's really hard to be a content creator who works on a slower timeline. But I personally feel very strongly about that being something that we do and something that we normalize in the industry as content creators, is to take our goddamn time to make stuff, to take breaks when we need to, and to allow ourselves to, like, you know, take as long as we need to make something. Laurie's House took 2 years to make, right? Like, that's a really long time to spend making an AP before I even release it. Like, that's 2 years prior to release. And that's a really long time, but I felt that it was very important for us to take that time because we took that time, I was able to respect, my cast is full of disabled people. My crew is full of disabled people. I was able to respect people's like disabilities and capacities, and we were able to just be like, cool, today's a bad pain day. Today's a bad mental health day. We're not recording today. We're just going to do it another day, right? I was able to do that because I wasn't sitting here going, but we have to release on this day, right? Like, and without that pressure, I was able to create a work environment in which we really did take care of the people first. And I encourage you to do that both for yourself and if you're heading a project for your team as well. Because trust me, people will make such better quality art and they will feel much better about the process and the final product if they feel like they were taken care of throughout the creation of it. So those are my kind of two thoughts.
I'm gonna jump in and like literally tag onto that because that was actually kind of the heart of one of the big things I was gonna say, which is make art ahead of product. Because that's one of the big things that I see often. I come from film and TV, for those of you who don't know. Like, I've worked extensively in film and television, and part of the reason I'm not doing that right now is because at the end of the day, what they're making is product, and I want to make art. And so you can make art that is product. This is not me saying like don't make things that earn you money, that don't give you, presence in that space of making things that are content that are, money earning and things like that. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying make art first. If it is a product also, you have to keep that in mind, but like for me, set down boundaries, set down rules about like when it stops being art and when it is harder. This goes back to the having kindness for yourself and the people you're working with and having a like humane and realistic timeline that you're working within. Setting boundaries around like being aware of like yourself. That's one of the big things is like I went through 3 years of an intensive Masters of Fine Arts program. At some point I stopped making art in there because I was so tired, because I was doing more art than I could consciously spend time on. And to some degree I learned a lot from doing that, but at the end of the day, like I look at some of that stuff, I go, this isn't art, this is practice for doing art. Because there was no intention behind it, and I do not feel it had artistic expression from me as a creator. And all of my best work is things that not only myself but the people I'm working with, like we've done for the Chaos Protocol and for Lori's House and other things, is if you spend time with yourself and you go, I can't make art today, that has to kind of be enough. And then the other thing is like setting healthy boundaries for yourself, because especially for tabletop, it's a game, right? At the heart of all of it is it's a game. You're playing hopefully a game. And if the game stops being fun, do something else. I have a rule in my life that if I stop playing tabletop for fun, especially like offline, unstreamed games, if I stop playing tabletop for fun, I have to do a different thing. I have to stop doing tabletop because it is now work and not art and not joyful creation, which is what I'm in it for. So take care of yourself, take care of the people you're working with, and know why you are doing it.
I'm tagging on to that last point, Kai, because everyone else has said very, very well on all the other points, and I plus one to what everyone has said. I have like 3, because I take on so many projects, and over the years, I've realized that I need like 3 main elements for this to feel good and to make the stories and to do the things. I always try to find a thing that is fun, and I find a thing that is joyful, and I find a thing that is fulfilling. What those definitions mean are malleable, are wide spacing. It can be different things. It could be the joy of achievement. We love to achieve things, so it could be the joy of achievement. It can be fun for fun's sake, and it can be fulfilling because you're embarking on a story that's deep and meaningful to you, that's more intense or whatever. Whatever those 3 things mean to you. But it's important that when you are engaging in all those things, that you engage in something that is fun, joyful, and fulfilling. Let those be your northern stars. Let those be the things that kind of act as your compass as you are building out, especially if you are embarking on a content creation drive or some sort of like like any sort of like artistic creation drive with your idea for what you want to do, because the world, the online space, the algorithms of it all can be unforgiving. And I wish for you all to have that kindness for yourself and to remember the fun of it, right? Like do warrior cat stuff because you're having fun with it, right? Like do stories that you are deeply inspired by a particular IP, whatever it is.
Warrior Cat's
Like-
actual play. I'm coming for you. I'm
Yeah,
coming for you.
like if you want to do like weird lore things, like do it. Like whatever makes you feel excited in the moment, because trust me, people can see it and people can feel it, and the most important thing, you can see it and feel it. How does the thing that you made you feel? That's the most important thing, because without that, how the hell is anyone else going to relate, right? It's got to resonate with you first. You are your first audience member. Have fun, folks.
But also be someone's second audience member.
Yes.
Cheer on your friends.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say, like, share this experience with your peers, you know, and make work with your peers. It's great. I mean, all of these people here sitting at this table we're peers, and I love that we're peers, right? And it's important that we work together. We work on each other's projects. We go to each other's streams, right? Like I was talking about Cerise earlier, right? Like we're peers, and it means a lot. Okay, that was a great way to end. Sam, you look like you were
No.
Okay.
I was just gonna say I don't want to work with anyone but my peers. I actively don't work with anyone but my peers. And when I say my peers, I mean people that I have already known and trust. I'm very about stepping into new tables with new people, just in general. I can get there, but make it with your friends.
Yeah. And some extra little titty bitty advice: don't make an all-white cast. I'm not gonna fucking watch that.
Hey, I'm
Big-
so
big
tired
advice,
of
huge
that.
Yeah, sorry.
Billboard,
Sorry. As a
billboard.
sidebar.
Yeah.
As a sidebar,
That's
don't make an
not a
all-white
sidebar.
cast.
That's just
Yeah.
rules now. No, like not
Yeah.
even advice. Like
That's
no.
a rule. Yeah.
It's like
eliminate,
friends.
eliminate that.
That
from
is the bar in
zeitgeist.
hell.
Yeah, that's the bar in
slightly
hell.
above that is please don't have a token person of color on your cast, and then the bar above that is please make
Not
your
gonna do
cast
that.
at least half people of color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with that. I'm gonna agree
Yeah.
with that, because if not, it's gonna look like Friends, where Friends is set in New York City, one of the most diverse cities in this fucking country, but you see 3 people of color throughout the entirety of the whole show. And
How
nothing
many
but white
seasons
people?
did that have? Like a fucking
Like 10.
bazillion?
Too damn many for you to
And
only
well-
for you to
yeah.
too many for you to
30
be able to
episodes
count
per
people
season?
of color on one hand. Too
Yep.
damn many for that. So yeah, don't be like Friends.
Not subtweeting cisplaner. I'm glad. I make that joke every single year on April Fools. It's
funny
hilarious
every time.
every year. It never gets
It's
old.
funny every time.
All right. I'm going to take us out with some outro announcements, and then we'll, I'm going to talk about our anniversary streamathon schedule, because in about 35 minutes, it will be Pride Month, and it will be the start of Transplaner Anniversary Month, like we mentioned at the top of this stream. We are celebrating 5 years of Transplaner RPG throughout the month of June. That is half a decade. And we are celebrating big time. I'm just gonna kind of read through it all, and I'm gonna try to make it fun, and I'm gonna try to maybe put in little fun spoilers for you all. So every week we are going to be spotlighting one of our 4 main shows with a series of props, streams, and special features. So of course, in order of release, the first week of June, we're celebrating The Second Stranger. The second week of June, we are celebrating Godkiller First Blood. The third week of June, we are celebrating The Chaos Protocol. Make some noise, Transplaners. And in the final week of June, we will be celebrating Godkiller Last Hope. Every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we are going to be sharing themed prompts based on the show in question, with an open invitation, speaking of fan works, to all of you to create art, illustration, cosplays, games, actual plays, anything you want based on those prompts. At the end of the month, we will also compile all of the submitted works into a Transplaner anniversary zine to print or release digitally. This better be good, Hamna, or else.
I have a clarifying question that might be helpful to the audience.
Yes.
When you release the prompts, is there like a deadline to make the things, or
No deadline. It's just inspirational material, like kind of like, you know, those Inktober style.
well,
Mermaid
Inktober has
Yeah.
a deadline, so
has a deadline. The deadline would
When the zine is published.
when the zine is published
I would
will
imagine.
ostensibly be
Gotcha.
the deadline, probably for the
Gotcha.
end of the month. You can also submit to the zine any previous Transplaner works that you've made in any of the 5 years that we've been running. So everything that goes up on the fan art reel, you can submit to the anniversary zine as well, even if it's not necessarily related to one of our prompts. But the prompts may encourage you to make cool new things. I'm excited to see if anyone makes a TTRPG or an actual play based on the prompt. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah.
Done.
Every week, we will also be raising funds for different charities to support aid, justice, and liberation. Globally, we will be fundraising for Care for Gaza, Raisai's Texas, Dee Dee's House, which is the current project of the Trans Women of Color Collective, and more throughout the month. And your support in helping us fundraise for those organizations means the world as we continue to fight for worlds just beyond fiction. I'm going to speed run us through the things that we'll be doing. Starting with Second Stranger Week, it is, of course, a rerun. The Stranger premiere director's cut, not just any rerun. That is Wednesday, June 4th at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. To kick off our event, we're returning to the place it all started, Fireroot Farm. You can join the cast of The Second Stranger as we rewatch the premiere episode of Arc 1. Speaking of those terrible mics and our terrible overlay, as we make commentary
Hey, I
on
made
our
that.
yeah, I know. As we make
It
commentary,
sure was a pride flag.
It sure was a pride
yeah,
flag.
it really was.
It sure was.
I made it from
It definitely
scratch in
was a
Photoshop,
pride
and
flag.
that is a
From
point of
scratch.
pride.
You didn't use like a pride
I didn't use a
flag
template. I made it
graphic?
from scratch.
Oh.
Yeah. Made
Yeah,
it,
you
all
like
of it.
made the
Anyway,
blocks.
sorry. Go on.
Yeah.
I made the blocks by hand. Yeah, no.
Yeah, so you get to hear us
I put the
howling
beveling on
over
it.
ourselves from 5 years ago, which is going to be fun. That Saturday, we just had our session 0 for this earlier today. We are returning to the world of Undake with a Hounds of Mercy reunion one-shot on Saturday, June 7th, also at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Mercy is missing yet again, and the Hounds must put aside their torrid affairs to help their kind of shitty boss one last time. Hamna, would you like to share the working title of the one-shot?
The working title of our one shot is The Hounds of Mercy versus Ndake's Biggest Hole.
And you can catch that on Wednesday, June 7th at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. The next week, we are moving into First Blood Week. We are also doing a First Blood listening party. I struggle to listen to myself, so this will be fun. Connie and I will be on stream, similarly commenting on and re-listening to the premiere of First Blood as we return to the beautiful world of Iron 42. That Saturday, June 14th at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we will be hosting a Transplaner Trivia Night. Do you know way too much about the Transplanerverse? Have you been taking notes throughout this stream about what the House Drakkar name means? You may be quizzed on it on Saturday, June 14th at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. That stream will have a special bonus point round for First Blood lore. So if you need to, you should brush up on your First Blood lore if you need to. The following week is going to be, of course, Chaos Week, starting with a Chaos Premiere Director's Cut, another rerun where all of us here on stream are going to rewatch the premiere episode of Arc 1, Episode 1, and make commentary on the absolutely fucking sick foreshadowing that happens in that stream. It's truly disgusting. So you have to join us Wednesday, June 18th at 8 p.m. US Eastern Time. And then, as Sam alluded to earlier, I would like all of us in chat to just take a moment and please welcome the one and only Sam Starr, who is the brand new lead showrunner for a spectacular one-shot celebrating Juneteenth with a, listen to me, fucking exceptional all black, all trans cast, and I don't know. Sam, your favorite TTRPG, is that Demigods? Will you remind me? It's Demigods, right?
I'm pretty sure my
Sure it's
favorite
Demigods.
TTRPG is Demigods.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive Demigods
Yeah.
is my favorite TTRPG.
Well, ain't that just the way? You'll all
Maybe
have
I
to
might
see
do something with it. Who knows?
You know, it would be so cool if you did. If you did it Saturday,
cool.
June
Let us
21st
know.
at 8 p.m. USD Eastern Time, let us know. Let us know.
For sure.
And then, in our last week of programming to celebrate Last Hope, we will be running a marathon Monday, June 23rd, Tuesday the 24th, Thursday the 26th, and Friday the 27th. We will be hosting a rerun of Godkiller Last Hope. All streams begin at 8 p.m. We'll be running 2 episodes per night since each of them are between 45 and 90 minutes long. So it'll be nice stream length. So come rejoin us for Last Hope time. What did you all call it? Spitmates? See you in chat. I do love the fan community.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's what they said. Yep.
I believe
That
that
is
is what
correct.
I believe that is what organically came up, which I love for us. And then finally, this is super, super exciting. We will be wrapping up our 5-year anniversary with a very special Godkiller world building playtest. You can join a cast from Transplaner previewing some brand new world building mechanics that will be featured in the upcoming full release of the Godkiller RPG TTRPG system, which is super exciting. We are going to be building our own version of the Cradle and the Godkillers that reside within it on Saturday,
Multiplayer?
June 28th
Multiplayer Godkiller real?
at 8 p.m. US Eastern Time. And, that's it. That's all. Just that.
Just that.
Just that.
Just that.
Something real light, just something to wet the palate. Nothing too major. Just
Yeah.
Easy
And a
breezy,
moose
beautiful.
boosh,
Just
if you will.
like,
No.
just a shared palate.
A moose boosh.
a moosh boosh.
A mouche bouche.
Oh.
And we are very excited to be celebrating Pride with all of you this June. With that out of the way, I have been C, your MC, producer, dramaturg of Transplaner RPG. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me making very transberg on the internet, C Plays RPG. And I'm going to pass things over to Humna, who is our incredible Arc 3 guest, for introductions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Humna. I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer and producer. You can find me all over the social medias at Lilith TTRPG. I am most active on Blue Sky, so probably go follow me there. But also, you should follow my multimedia production studio, Tender Vicious Studios, all over social media at Tender Vicious Studios or tendervicious.com. Please follow us on TikTok, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky. We have a actual play out right now called Lori's House, which is a podcast about imperfect memory, community, and identity. It is very beautiful. C was our dramaturge, Kai was our GM. So if you want to see the Transplaner folks doing something a little different, a little funky, do that. Also, I will give a prize to the first person that notices what we're actually doing with Lori's House. I will give you
I
a
can't wait.
prize. I don't know what it is, but I will give it to you.
Okay.
My hint is re-listen to the episodes. And with that, I will pass things over to Val.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valiant Dorian. I use he, him as pronouns. You can find me all across the internet at Valiant Dorian or also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure I just set you on. I've been Sayer for the Chaos Protocol, and also Voska in the Second Stranger, which y'all will get to re-experience in this wonderful month of Pride. It's just stuff to keep an eye out for me. On Tuesdays, over on the Wounded Warrior Project, I play Randir Villafor in the Shadows of Gotham actual play over there, alongside powerhouses including Kappa, Candace, the Magnificent, Calamity, Edward, and Sam. Like, this is an incredible cast. I hope to see you all on Tuesdays when we are engaging in that particular actual play. And yeah, and keep an eye out on my socials because there's some other cool secret stuff that's going to be announced soon. Please enjoy that. Passing it over to Kai.
Hi everyone, I've been Kai. I still will be after this stream, I think. And I play Mr. Zanin-ish, who is never a problem and will never be a problem. And you can find me everywhere as Estelle of Imladris. where I on my Twitch channel I talk a lot about costuming, storytelling, and how to integrate little things into your storytelling. And outside of that, you can go listen to Lori's house. That's what I have to tell you. And then on Tuesday, you can find me over on Happy Jack's RPG in an all new Electric State actual play. Where I am being a problem, basically, in summary. And you can go check that out too. And more here soon, very. Sam.
Hello, everyone. Will always be. I lost it. I'm Sam Star, she, they, and the occasional Fae pronouns. You can find me all across the interwebs at Lust for Life X. Just follow me on social media, because sometimes I do shit, sometimes I don't. You just gotta follow me for it. Keep a lookout on my socials for updates on everything. Take us home, boss.
It's a me, boss. You know who I am. My only plug is for Transplanters Patreon. If you haven't pledged already and you have some disposable income for the low cost of $30 US a year, if you can spare that, you can, for the member, if you buy like if the annual package is 10% off at the lowest tier, $3 a month, you get a 10% off or something like that. Yeah, $30 a month. You can support us if you can spare that. That would be amazing. If not, follow us as a free member on Patreon and on all of our social media. And tell a friend, tell a family member, tell your cat, your dog, say it with me, your parakeet! About Transplanter. We love you so much. We're going to be rating someone really awesome right now, no doubt. If you're on the YouTube, hop on over to our Twitch to send the love on over to another member of the TTRPG ecosystem. But before we do that, goodbye. We love you. We are going to see you for Pride Month, baby! For that Second Stranger premiere rerun stream this coming Wednesday. And with that,
Pride in 20 minutes.
Journey well. Bye.
Journey well.